Chapter 73. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are all available here. On the other side, Marquis Gu took up residence in the hot spring villa. Marquis Gu held an important position in the capital. Logically speaking, he couldn't be away for too long, but this was an important matter. He had already written a letter to his second son in the capital, asking him to enter the palace and ask for leave from His Majesty. A normal marquis might not be able to see His Majesty, but Marquis Gu's younger sister was His Majesty's favorite concubine. Thus, second young Master Gu had no difficulty entering the palace to see His Majesty. His Majesty knew about Gu Yan's situation and guessed that Marquis Gu was staying because Gu Yan wasn't doing well. He told Marquis Gu to stay in the villa and take care of the family matters. The only thing he didn't say was that he would return to the capital after taking care of Gu Yan's funeral. Marquis Gu knew nothing about His Majesty's inner drama. He was busy looking for that child. Marquis Gu first looked for the midwife who had delivered Madame Yao's child. The midwife was invited from a nearby village. The search area wasn't wide, so there was quickly news. Unfortunately, the midwife had passed away a few years ago. Her family only knew that she had indeed gone to the temple to deliver a child and had received a large reward. Her family didn't know anything else. Marquis Gu treated a dead horse as a living horse. He started from the nearby village and really did find some clues. There were 5 children born in the temple. One was 18, one was 19, and one was only 7 years old. The ages of these 3 didn't match. The remaining 2 were of the right age. They were both villagers at the foot of the mountain. One was in Apricot Flower Village, and the other was in Qingchuan Village. Marquis Gu's trusted guard went to Apricot Flower Village first, but found that the child was a boy and the month of birth was wrong. The twins were born in the 10th month, and the boy was born in the 8th month. Thus, only the child in Qingchuan Village was left. If this was also wrong, they would have to search outside Qingchuan Village. That way, the search area would be wider. Marquis. The guard in charge of this investigation was called Huang Zhong. He was Marquis Gu's trusted aide. He said, "Marquis, Qingchuan Village isn't the village at the foot of the mountain. It's on the other side of the mountain." The possibility wasn't very high. That was what Marquis Gu thought as well, which was why he placed Qingchuan Village as the last place to be investigated. Marquis Gu didn't have much hope in his heart. He said to Huang Zhong, "Go and take a look first. Come back if it's not him. Don't let anyone know. If it's him, I'll wait for you at the tea house in town." Yes. After receiving the order, Huang Zhong immediately took a carriage to Clear Spring Village. Huang Zhong was in his early 40s. He was burly and had a gentle face. At first glance, one could tell that he was a good person. It was easy for him to gain the trust of strangers. "That's the Gu family's child," an old man who was sunbathing in front of his house said. The old man was a little old. He had bad hearing and poor eyesight, and he was forgetful. He only remembered that there was a baby in the Gu family who was born in a temple. "Which Gu clan?" Huang Zhong asked. "Li Zheng. Gu Li Zheng." The old man waved his hand and pointed the way. His surname was also Gu? What a coincidence. Huang Zhong thanked the old man and drove the carriage to the Gu family's old house. Gu Dashun and Gu Shaoshun had gone to school. Gu Lizheng took Gu Chonghai to the yamen to get rice and grain. Gu Chonglu and Gu Ershun were sowing in the fields. Only Gu Yue, Madame Wu, and her daughter-in-law were at home. It was Gu Yue who opened the door. It wasn't the first time Gu Yue had seen nobles and carriages, but she was still stunned. Who are you looking for?" It was normal for a country girl to react this way because she hadn't seen the world. Huang Zhong smiled and said, "Is Gu Lizheng here?" Gu Yue was afraid to talk to a strange man, so she turned and ran into the house. "Grandmother. Someone is looking for grandfather." Madame Wu and her daughter-in-law were chopping chili in the backyard. Seeing Gu Yue running in panic, Madame Wu frowned impatiently. "Who's looking for your grandfather?" Gu Yue pointed behind her. "I don't know. He came in a big carriage." Madame Wu's expression changed when she heard that it was a carriage. Madame Wu put down the kitchen knife in her hand, wiped her hands with a rag, and walked quickly to the door. Huang Zhong was in a 2-horse carriage, which was one more horse than the carriage of the steward who sent the invitation to Gu Shaoshan last time. Madame Wu suddenly realized that this person's status was higher than the dean of the academy. But why did such a noble person come to their house? Madame Wu asked with a smile, "Who are you? Why are you looking for my husband?" "My surname is Huang. I heard that you have a child who was born in the temple. I want to inquire about the child's situation." Madame Wu's smile suddenly disappeared. He was looking for that little jinx. As long as he was involved with that little jinx, nothing good would come out of it. Madame Wu was about to close the door with a dark face, but Madame Lu's eyes flashed and she came over. She said with a smile, "Then you can't ask for nothing." Huang Zhong understood, but his smile didn't change. He took out a silver ingot from his arms. The eyes of Madame Wu and her daughter-in-law instantly popped out. Madame Lu reached out to take it, but Madame Wu grabbed the silver ingot first. Madame Lu secretly gritted her teeth. She wanted the silver ingot, so why did it go into her mother-in-law's pocket? After receiving the silver ingot, Madame Wu's face looked much better. "What do you want to ask?" "Ask. How old is the child? Is it a girl?" 14. Girl. This time, it was Huang Zhong's eyes that lit up. When was she born? Madame Wu was stumped by this question. Who would bother to remember a money-losing fool's birth characters? Madame Lu hurriedly said, I know. She was born in October. That month, she was pregnant with Gu Shaoshan, so she had a deep impression of it. Even the month was right. Huang Zhong began to get excited. "What's the date? 17 or 18? Madame Lu couldn't remember clearly. It seemed that except for Gu Shaoshan, no one would remember Gu Jiao's birthday. The twins were born on the 18th. These clues could be said to be very close. Huang Zhong suppressed his excitement and continued to ask, "Which temple was it born in?" Madame Lu pointed and said, "The temple on the other side of the mountain." "Which temple is there?" At this time, Gu Chonglu came out with a hoe. Madame Lu waved at him. "Urshuan's father, was Jianyong born on the 18th or the 17th? 18. What's wrong?" Gu Chonglu said while looking at the man and the carriage in front of the door strangely. Huang Zhong was so excited that he couldn't be more excited. Everything was right, so it should be right. He didn't expect that the child he didn't have any hope for was the child they were looking for. Gu Chonglu came to Madame Wu and Madame Lu's side. At this time, Madame Zhou also came out to watch the fun. Only Gu Yue was timid. She hid at the back door of the central room and secretly looked at them. Huang Zhong couldn't hide his excitement. Gu Chonglu looked him up and down and asked Madame Lu, "Why do you suddenly ask about Jianyong?" Madame Lu pulled Gu Chonglu to the side and pointed to Madame Wu's pocket, whispering, "He came to ask about Jianyong and gave me a silver ingot. Mother took it all." Gu Chonglu glared at Madame Lu. He was dissatisfied that Madame Lu used such a tone to complain about his mother. However, he didn't agree with Madame Wu's actions either. He walked to Madame Wu's side and said, "Mother, we can't accept this silver ingot." Madame Wu tightened her grip on the purse. "Why can't we accept it?" Gu Chonglu looked at Huang Zhong and said, "We don't even know who he is. Why is he asking about Jianyong? What if he's a bad person and has bad intentions towards Jianyong?" Madame Wu was unhappy when she heard this. What did that little jinx's life have to do with her? It's better for him to die so that the whole family won't be disturbed. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel will be updated more quickly. Millions of novels can be read for free. There are all kinds of novels that can't be found on the internet here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_8964286/116094016. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in a second. www.zhhbqg.com Biku Gu mobile reading website, m. zhhbqg.com. Chapter 74. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. There are all kinds of novels that can't be found online. Huang Zhong said, "Don't worry, I'm not a bad person." This may be a bit abrupt, but I wonder if I can see Jianyong? No. Gu Chonglu rejected without hesitation. If the other party didn't even let him see her, how could he bring her to town and let the Marquis see her? He couldn't knock out the whole family and kidnap the child, right? Besides, he didn't even know who the child was. Huang Zhong felt that it was very likely that the other party was his young miss. Since that was the case, he couldn't offend the family of the young miss's adoptive parents. He softened his tone and said, "May I ask where the child's parents are? I have something to say to them." Madame Wu said, "Her parents passed away. I'm her grandmother, I raised her. Tell me what you have to say." She didn't have parents when she was young? Huang Zhong's mood suddenly became complicated. He thought for a moment and asked, "Can we talk inside?" Madame Wu led Huang Zhong into the house. Huang Zhong asked about the details of the birth, especially why Madame Su went up the mountain with a big belly. It turned out that Madame Su wasn't from the village. She had married far away and her family had sent a letter saying that her father was dying and asked her to find a way to go home. Madame Su was pregnant and her in-laws naturally didn't allow her to go far away. She had no choice but to go to the temple to beg the Bodhisattva. She went without telling her in-laws, saying that she was going to pick some wild vegetables and that she would be back before dark. Who would have thought that there would be a sudden thunderstorm and she would be trapped in the temple and slip? The Marquis's premature birth was caused by twins, but hers was an accident. At first, the Gu family didn't know that she went to the temple. When she didn't come back in the heavy rain, Gu Sanlang wanted to find his wife but was stopped by his two brothers. Going into the forest in a thunderstorm was suicidal. Madame Su came back 2 days later. When she came back, the child had already been born. It was a girl with a red spot on her face. She was so ugly that she didn't look like Gu Sanlang's biological daughter. Gu Sanlang was famous for his good looks. Many people from the surrounding villages were eager to be his wife. In the end, he chose Lady Su, mainly because Lady Su had a large dowry. Madame Wu had once suspected that Madame Su had lost her child in the mountains. She was afraid that her family would blame her, so she picked up a child and brought it back. Su She was an honest person. She said that she gave birth to this child in the temple. If you don't believe me, you can ask the abbot in the temple. Madame Wu and her second daughter-in-law, Madame Lu, went to ask and confirmed that Madame Su had given birth in the temple. The baby was born alive, and his cries could be heard all over the temple. "You didn't pick it up?" Madame Wu asked at that time. The monk laughed. "Do you know who was the other female benefactor who gave birth here that night? She is a noble in the capital, who would be able to pick up her child." Madame Wu instantly fell silent. The children of nobles were more precious than gold. Not to mention picking them up, they couldn't even be stolen. Hearing this, Huang Zhong was completely certain that the Su family's child was the one he was looking for. But from the looks of it, Madame Su didn't know that she had carried the wrong baby. Her surname is also Gu. What a coincidence. Huang Zhong suddenly had a feeling of fate. He quickly asked, "Do Madame Su and Gu Sanlang love the child?" What the hell was this? Madame Su and Gu Sanlang almost tied the child to their belts. This was also what made Madame Wu dissatisfied. Madame Su was a hen who couldn't lay eggs. She had such a good husband like Gu Sanlang, but she couldn't give birth to a good child. It wasn't easy for her to give birth to a daughter. Not only was she ugly, but she was also stupid. She was stupid because when she grew up, she found that other children could jump, but she couldn't even walk. She only called her mother when she was 3 years old. However, the couple didn't dislike her at all. They loved the child very much. Gu Jiao's mother's hard life began after the couple died. Of course, Madame Wu didn't say this. Huang Zhong had too many clues to digest in his mind, so he didn't notice Madame Wu's hesitation for a while. He looked at Madame Wu and the others and said excitedly, "To tell you the truth, the noble who gave birth in the temple that year was my wife. The two children may have been mixed up." Madame Wu and the others were stunned. I don't quite understand. Say it again." Madame Wu stammered. Huang Zhong smiled and said, "Sanlang's daughter is my family's young miss." Madame Wu opened her mouth. "Your family is," Huang Zhong warmly said, "Marquis Ding An's manor." Boom! Everyone in the room was thunderstruck. They didn't understand the rest, but they understood the last two words. Marquis Manor. That damn girl was actually from the Marquis Manor? Marquis Manor has a higher official position than the county magistrate? Madame Lu carefully asked. The Marquis Manor was not an official position. It was a manor. The Marquis was the official. But Huang Zhong understood Madame Lu's meaning. Huang Zhong smiled. Naturally. Huang Zhong didn't say the exact difference. Even if he did, they wouldn't understand. In the capital, anyone who dared to ask this question would have already been crushed to death by the Marquis. Comparing him to a dog's Marquis, who were they looking down on? Huang Zhong was rather polite to the Gu family. After all, the Gu family had raised their young miss. He amiably said, "My family's Marquis is in town. Can I bring that child to see my family's Marquis?" These people were completely scared silly. They couldn't even speak. First, they were shocked. They didn't think that the girl's background would be so frightening. Second, they were frightened. They had bullied the girl many times over the years. If the Marquis knew that they were so harsh to his own daughter, would he send them all to the yamen to eat prison food? Just as the people in the room were in a daze, Gu Zhonghai arrived home. He first noticed the carriage outside the door. Then he saw the room full of frightened birds. He glanced at the powerful Huang Zhong and frowned. He asked Madame Wu, "Mother, what is it? Where's your father?" Madame Wu looked behind him. Gu Zhonghai said, "Father went to granduncle's place. He told me to come back first." That. Madame Wu didn't know how to tell her son. Huang Zhong smiled understandingly and said, "Well, I'll send someone to inform the Marquis first. You can discuss how to tell her. If it's not convenient for you to say it, I'll do it." Such a big thing had happened. It was reasonable to give people time to digest it. But it couldn't be delayed for too long. He had to see the child today anyway. After Huang Zhong went out, the three women trembled and told Gu Jiao's background. Although Gu Zhonghai was a man, his reaction was no better than the three women's. His whole face turned pale and his legs were weak. If they treated Gu Jiao well, he would be happy to hear the news. But the point was, they didn't treat Gu Jiao as a person at all. They didn't let her eat or drink well. She did all the heavy and dirty work, such as cutting pigweed, feeding pigs, picking up pig dung. But she was stupid and couldn't do it well. So they gradually stopped asking her to do it. But they often beat and scolded her. Moreover, when she was less than 14 years old, they forced her to marry a cripple and drove them out to live alone. If the Marquis knew about this, would they still have a chance to live? The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel is more complete and updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. You can find all the novels that you can't find on the internet here. https://www.zhhbqg com/89642_896422826/116059784. HTML Genius remembered the website address in a second. www.zhhbqg.com Bikuj mobile reading website. M. zhhbqg.com. Chapter 75. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel is more complete and updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. There are all kinds of novels that can't be found on the internet. Dashuan's father, say something. What should we do? Mrs. Zhou was as anxious as an ant on a hot pot. She asked who in the Gu family treated Gu Jiao the worst. It was either Mrs. Wu or her. Of course, Mrs. Lu was not a good person, but Gu Xiaoshun took away half of her anger from Mrs. Lu. Mrs. Lu beat Gu Xiaoshun the most fiercely. There is a saying, anger rises from the heart, and evil grows from the guts. When people are angry to the extreme, they can do anything. Similarly, when people are scared to the extreme, they can do anything to protect themselves. Gu Zhonghai immediately made a bold decision, let you or go. What? Mrs. Zhou was stunned. Madame Wu and Gu Chonglu were also stunned. Did they hear it wrong? The first branch wanted to use their daughter to replace the Jiaonyang? Eldest brother, you can't. Gu Chonglu was the first to object. Putting aside his guilt for the third branch, he was timid and could not do such a thing. Mrs. Lu was also not happy. It was not her daughter who was going to be the daughter of the Lord Protector. She did not enjoy the happiness, but followed the first branch in fear. No. Mrs. Wu and Mrs. Zhou did not say anything. One of them was Gu Yuer's grandmother, and the other was Gu Yuer's mother. They could directly benefit from it. Moreover, they were not timid. Gu Zhonghai began to persuade the second branch. Second brother, second sister-in-law, if you don't think for yourselves, don't you think for Erzhan? Erzhan is also a very smart child, but Dashan was born before him and went to school first. The family could not support two children, so Urshuan's education was delayed. When goes to the Lord Protector's manor, I will definitely let her take Erzhan to the capital to study. With Urshuan's intelligence, how can he not make a name for himself? These words touched the bottom of Mrs. Lu's heart. Even in her dreams, Madame Lu wanted to bask in Second Shun's glory. She also firmly believed that Second Shun was someone who could make a name for himself. It was just that Gu Dashan had taken all the opportunities. Gu Chonghai said, third brother's child is not close to us, so we can't count on her. Besides, that child might be sent back by the Marquis's mansion. Don't expect the Marquis's household to compensate us with a sum of money. They also raised third brother's daughter, so we don't owe each other anything. If we really owe them anything, it's us who owe them. How much does the Marquis estate spend on third brother's daughter every year? How much do we spend on Jiaonyang every year? If we really calculate it, don't we have to compensate them? Hearing about the compensation, the second branch's expression changed. Gu Zhonghai continued, but as long as Yu goes there and puts in a good word for us, how can the Marquis's estate not go along with her? You watched Yu grow up. Don't you know what kind of person she is? She's closest to her second aunt. Mrs. Lu's back straightened. Gu Yu and Mrs. Lu's relationship was actually not very close, but Gu Yu was obedient, diligent, and had a soft personality. Mrs. Lu did not hate her, and she had never argued with her. Mrs. Zhou hurriedly chimed in, yes, she always tells me that she likes her second aunt the most. She also says that her second aunt is good-looking. Much better than me. In the past, Mrs. Zhou would never admit that Mrs. Lu was prettier than her. But now, she had to coax Mrs. Lu. Mrs. Lu was successfully coaxed. She smiled embarrassedly, who doesn't like you, After successfully persuading Mrs. Lu, Gu Zhonghai turned to look at Gu Chonglu. Second brother, I know that you don't like farming. You like doing business. When Yu goes to the Marquis's mansion, let her buy you the best shop in town. You can sell whatever you want. Gu Chonglu was suddenly speechless. It was true that he felt guilty towards the third branch, but he really wanted to have his own business. Father, Mrs. Lu said weakly. Gu Zhonghai knew the old man's character well. It was true that he was fickle to Gu Jiao. It was also true that he favored boys over girls. But if he really asked him to do such a bad thing, he might not do it. I'll tell him later. Mrs. Lu curled her lips and said, Then tell him, don't involve us. Gu Zhonghai grinned. Don't worry, second sister-in-law. It's my idea. If the old man wants to scold someone, he will only scold me. Will the Marquis's mansion be suspicious? Gu Chonglu suddenly asked. Gu Zhonghai smiled and said, How can it be? Who would have guessed that we have such big courage? What's more, that person asked in the village before coming to the Gu family. He won't ask again. Mrs. Zhou said, What about the blood test? I heard there is such a thing. Gu Zhonghai's smile deepened. That's even easier. You, and third brother's daughter are blood relatives. When the time comes, let you think of a way to replace the blood in the Marquis's mansion with third brother's daughter's blood. Naturally, we can deceive everyone. Just like that, the family decided the life of Gu Jiao and Gu Yu'er. It was just like how they decided the life of Gu Jiao and Xiao Lulang. They didn't even think about whether the person involved would agree or not. Gu Yu'er cried and didn't want to be a daughter. Mrs. Zhou and Mrs. Lu tried to persuade her, but she didn't listen. Gu Zhonghai slapped her and she became obedient. Mrs. Zhou changed her daughter into decent clothes. Mrs. Lu took out the jewelry that she took from Mrs. Su and put it on Gu Yu'er. Gu Zhonghai's slap just now didn't leave a mark on Gu Yu'er's face. But because she cried, her eyes were red and swollen. Regarding this, the Gu family's explanation was that the little girl couldn't accept the fact and was a little sad. Huang Zhong felt that this was human nature. The kindness of giving birth was not as great as the kindness of raising. After so many years, they should have developed feelings for each other. But Huang Zhong didn't expect that the little girl who opened the door for him was his young miss. Just now, she was dressed even more shabbily and looked even more timid. Her movements were full of pettiness. Huang Zhong thought of the dignified and elegant Gu Jinyu and couldn't help but sigh. Gu Yu'er kept crying. Huang Zhong couldn't bear it and said, Master Ho doesn't want to take you back immediately. He came today to see you first. If you really can't bear to, Mrs. Wu hurriedly said. No. It's right for the family to be reunited. What's there to be reluctant about? Master Ho is her biological father. Huang Zhong personally opened the curtain of the carriage and said, Young miss, please get in the carriage. Gu Yu'er didn't move. Mrs. Wu urged, Go, you, cough, Jiaonyong. Mrs. Zhou and Mrs. Lu helped Gu Yu'er into the carriage. This was probably the first time Gu Yu'er was valued by her family since she was born. The whole family treated her like a bodhisattva, but Gu Yu'er couldn't feel happy. She didn't want to go to a strange place and didn't want to leave home. The whole family didn't care about Gu Yu'er's life or death. They all started to have their own big dreams. Gu Zhonghai urged, It's getting late. Go early and come back early. If they didn't leave now, old Master Ho would come back and Gu Yu'er wouldn't be able to leave. What they didn't expect was that Huang Zhong and Gu Yu'er didn't meet old Master Ho, but met Gu Shaoshun who had just returned from the academy. Gu Shaoshun walked back casually, swinging his bag as he walked. Gu Zhonghai's eyebrows jumped. Shaoshun, why are you back so early? Xiao Lulang went to the provincial capital to take the prefectural examination. Gu Shaoshun didn't need to take second Uncle Luo's ox cart. He walked back himself. Walking on foot was much faster than an ox cart. At this time, Huang Zhong's carriage was almost out of the village. Mrs. Zhou said, It's okay. He can't see. Gu Yu'er was sitting in the carriage. Gu Shaoshun couldn't lift the curtain with his hands. Could he? Digression, you can't do anything. Your hands are number one. Underscore the latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, Please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster and more complete. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found on the internet are all available here. https://www.zhhbqg.com/89642_826/116024956. HTML Genius remembered this site's address in a second. www.zhhbqg.com BQ mobile reading website, zhhbqg.com. Chapter 76. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels that can't be found online are all available here. The Gu family might have forgotten that Gu Xiaoshun grew up with bad hands. Because of this, he had been beaten by the Lu family since he was a child. When the carriage passed by Gu Xiaoshun casually waved his hand. Gu Yue? Gu Yue was only 2 months younger than Gu Jiao. According to reason, she should be Gu Xiaoshun's older sister, but Gu Xiaoshun only called her by her first name. Gu Yue immediately panicked. Although she didn't want to leave home, she was more afraid of being beaten by her father if she failed. Huang Zhong stopped the carriage. He jumped out of the carriage and came in front of Gu Xiaoshun. He took the curtain from Gu Xiaoshun's hand and coldly asked, "Where did this brat come from?" Gu Xiaoshun was wearing Tianxiang Academy's uniform, but every strand of hair on his body seemed to be indecent. After studying for so long, people seemed to forget that he was the #1 bully in the surrounding area. Just now, he saw Gu Yue crying in the carriage. He suddenly had a bad guess in his heart. Gu Yue had reached the age of marriage. His family was worried about Gu Yue's marriage. The Gu family didn't like the poor ones, and the Gu family didn't want the good ones. This rotten old man, could it be that he wanted to buy Gu Yue to be his concubine? Gu Xiaoshun's bad temper rose. "You don't even know your grandfather, Xiaoshun, and you dare to come to the Gu family to steal someone? Yue, get out of the carriage." Gu Yue didn't move. Gu Xiaoshun stepped into the carriage and was about to pull Gu Yue down. Huang Zhong was a martial artist. How could he let a brat steal someone from his hands? He grabbed Gu Xiaoshun's arm and coldly said, "Brat, if you have something to say, then say it." Gu Xiaoshun unhappily said, "How much money did my uncle ask you? You even sold your own daughter?" "What do you mean by your uncle's daughter?" "She was the daughter of the third branch of the Gu family, Gu Jiao's mother." "Wait, you're a member of the Gu family?" Huang Zhong was suddenly startled, as if something was wrong. At this time, Gu Zhonghai, Madame Zhou, and Madame Lu arrived breathlessly. Gu Zhonghai said sternly, "Xiaoshun, get over here." Gu Xiaoshun ignored Gu Zhonghai and looked at Huang Zhong strangely. She lifted the curtain with one hand and pointed at Gu Yue with the other. "Are you stupid? I don't know my sister. Open your dog eyes and take a good look. She is the daughter of the Gu clan's first branch, Gu Yue. It was a sunny day, and the streets of the town were bustling with activity. Marquis Gu sat in a room on the second floor of the tea house, sipping tea as he listened to the carriage driver's report. The window beside his hand was wide open, and the sunlight and noise came in together. Unlike the bustle in the capital, the town was more lively with the local customs. "We went to the village. The family there also had the surname Gu," the driver said. As this was a serious matter, Marquis Gu only used people he trusted, and the driver was no exception. The coachman told him everything he had heard from the Gu family. When he heard that the other party's surname was also Gu, Marquis Gu's reaction was not very big, but when he heard that the child was indeed the baby girl who was carried away by mistake, Marquis Gu's cup fell on the table with a clang. The driver was frightened. "Marquis, are you okay?" He thought that he would be very calm after finding his long-lost child, but he was a little nervous. He asked, "Where is she?" The driver said, "She's on the way. Bodyguard Huang asked me to inform you in advance, and he will bring her here in a while." Marquis Gu was a little excited. He straightened his clothes and asked the driver, "Do I look okay?" The driver was stunned. You're not looking at her face." Marquis Gu's face darkened. "I'm asking you if you'll scare the child." The driver trembled. Marquis Gu took a deep breath and suppressed his ferocious expression. In fact, there was nothing to worry about. Jinyu liked him very much, so the child would definitely like him too. The main thing was that he was afraid that he would scare the child away if he was too imposing. Time seemed to slow down. Marquis Gu gradually could not sit still upstairs, so he simply got up and went downstairs. He had just taken 2 steps out of the tea house when he bumped into a glutinous rice ball who was holding some snacks. The little glutinous rice ball cried out and fell face down on the ground. The box of snacks in his hand fell out, and a drop rolled out. The little glutinous rice ball was stunned when he saw that the snacks he bought with great difficulty were gone. "What's wrong, Jing Kong?" Gu Jiao came over with a candied hawthorn nearby. When she saw the little guy lying on the ground with a confused face, she hurriedly went forward and lifted him up. Little Jing Kong looked at Gu Jiao and then looked at the osmanthus cake scattered all over the ground. He pouted and tears welled up in his big eyes. "The osmanthus cake is gone." Today was the first time little Jing Kong came to town. It was the first time he saw so many people and also the first time he queued up to buy osmanthus cake. He cherished it so much that he could not bear to eat a single one. In the end, it was gone just like that. Gu Jiao looked at the osmanthus cake on the ground and asked little Jing Kong, "Are you hurt? Are you hurt anywhere?" Little Jing Kong covered his little heart and said with an aggrieved face, "I'm hurt here." Gu Jiao was speechless. This was the osmanthus cake from Li Ji. They queued for more than an hour before they could buy it. The little guy was sad. "But did you have to be so dramatic? You even put on an act?" Gu Jiao wiped his little hands with a handkerchief. "Be careful next time." "I'm very careful. It's not my fault. He bumped into me." After little Jing Kong said that, he raised his hand and pointed at Marquis Gu, who did not know whether to leave or stay. Strictly speaking, he did leave in a hurry. Little Jing Kong did not move at that time. He held the snacks under the eaves and waited for Gu Jiao to buy him sugar-coated haws. However, Marquis Gu did not do it on purpose. Little Jing Kong was too short and he did not see him at first. When he was about to ask someone to carry little Jing Kong away, Gu Jiao appeared. "Why is this girl everywhere?" Marquis Gu was puzzled. Gu Jiao looked at Marquis Gu coldly. Marquis Gu felt a little guilty under her sharp gaze, but it was impossible for him, a marquis, to apologize to a child. He coughed softly and said seriously, "Who asked him to block the way? You brought a child out, why didn't you keep an eye on him?" "All right, I'm in a good mood today, so I'll forgive you. This amount of silver is enough to buy 100 boxes of osmanthus cakes." After saying that, he took out a silver ingot and threw it on the ground in front of the two. Ordinary people would have kowtowed to thank him for the reward when they saw so much silver ingot. However, Gu Jiao and little Jing Kong did not move. Marquis Gu glanced at them coldly. "Oh, as you wish." After saying that, he strode away. His clothes were either rich or expensive. Naturally, no one dared to speak up for Gu Jiao and little Jing Kong. However, just as he brushed past Gu Jiao gently stretched out her foot and tripped him. He was caught off guard and fell flat on the ground. He was instantly angry. He turned his head and stared at Gu Jiao fiercely. "Stupid girl, do you want to die?" Gu Jiao returned his words to him word for word. "Who asked you to block the way?" After tripping him, Gu Jiao turned and left with little Jing Kong. Marquis Gu was really angry this time. Coincidentally, the county magistrate passed by with the Yaman's constables. Marquis Gu was so angry that he asked the county magistrate to arrest them. Digression, Marquis of this chapter. Ha ha ha. Marquis of the next chapter. Woo woo, the latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster and more complete. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found on the internet are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642-826/115990461. HTML Genius remembered the website address in a second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Gu mobile reading website, m. zhbqg.com. Chapter 77. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster and more frequently. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are all available here. As soon as the magistrate left, Huang Zhong arrived. Marquis, why are you here alone? Where's the child? I was almost fooled. The one from the Gu family isn't. Huang Zhong told him the whole story of how the Gu family had substituted one person for another. Fortunately, we met brother Xiao Shun. Otherwise, we would have made another mistake. Marquis Gu was furious. Very good, these people don't want to live anymore. I'll deal with them later. I asked you a question, are you deaf? Marquis Gu glared at Huang Zhong. Huang Zhong pursed his lips. Weren't they still hesitating at the beginning about whether or not to recognize her? Why are they so anxious now? Huang Zhong took out a lifelike wooden carving. Brother Xiaoshun gave it to me. He said this is the young miss. The wooden carving from last time was given to the old mother of the headmaster. After that, Gu Xiaoshun carved a new one, but he didn't have time to give it to Gu Jiao. Huang Zhong learned his lesson this time and didn't tell Gu Xiaoshun the truth. He only said that his master had received a favor from his sister and wanted to invite her to town to thank her. Gu Xiaoshun was afraid that they would thank the wrong person again, so he gave the wooden carving to him. Marquis Gu felt that the wooden carving looked a little familiar. It's missing something. Huang Zhong searched his chest again and took out a small piece of dough. He smacked it on the left side of the wooden carving's face. Brother Xiaoshun said that the young miss has a red birthmark on her face. Red birthmark. Marquis Gu finally understood why the wooden carving looked familiar. Wasn't this the stinky girl he had just ordered to be taken away? Did you make a mistake? Marquis Gu frowned. There's no mistake this time. In order to verify the authenticity of the wooden carving, Huang Zhong had checked with the villagers. It was the real child of the Gu family's third branch. Marquis Gu felt as if lightning had struck his head, and his whole body began to sway. Huang Zhong noticed his master's strange behavior and asked worriedly, Marquis, what's wrong? Don't tell me you don't like Mrs. Appearance? Xiaoxuan's brother said that although she has a birthmark, it's not ugly at all. Beauty was in the eye of the beholder, and fairies were in the eyes of the younger brother. Gu Xiaoshun had never thought that his sister was ugly. Huang Zhong was just listening to Marquis Gu's words when the next second, Marquis Gu disappeared. Naturally, Marquis Gu had gone to chase after Gu Jiao. He had not expected that the brat was the child he had been searching so hard for. It's over. He had personally sent him to prison. Whether or not he would recognize her was another matter altogether. He was afraid that when the time came, it would be difficult to ask her for her blood as a guiding drug. When Marquis Gu arrived at the county yamen, Magistrate Liu and his entourage had also just arrived. Just now, he had revealed his identity so that the county magistrate obeyed his orders. When the county magistrate saw him, he hurriedly went forward to salute him. However, Marquis Gu didn't even look at him and walked towards the carriage where Gu Jiao and Gu Ruoyun were being held. Something unexpected happened. The carriage was empty, and there was not a single person in it. Marquis Gu's eyes widened. Where is she? Magistrate Liu was also dumbfounded. That's right, where is she? He had seen her and the child get into the carriage with his own eyes. They had not stopped along the way, so how could they have disappeared? Could it be that the brat was a hidden expert? Magistrate Liu wiped away his cold sweat. This official has failed in his duty. This official will immediately send people to capture her. She will be punished. Let's see if she dares to escape. A mere 9th-rank official dared to punish the bloodline of the Marquis's household? Marquis Gu scolded, "Dog official. You even captured 2 children. You even want to punish them. Why don't you go to heaven?" Magistrate Liu was dumbfounded. "Didn't you tell this official to capture them?" Marquis Gu kicked him. "You'll capture them just because I told you to? Who is the real official of the people? You don't seek justice for the people, you don't stand up for the people. You only know how to curry favor and curry favor. What's the use of having you?" Magistrate Liu, who was flustered by the wind, was speechless. The last ray of the setting sun disappeared into the horizon. The sky was gray and half dark. Gu Jiao held little Jing Kong's hand and walked on the quiet street at a moderate pace. Although there was no osmanthus cake, there was still candied haws. Little Jing Kong was small, but he was not timid. The series of events just now did not scare him at all. He licked the candied haws very seriously. Gu Jiao paused and could not help but ask him, "Are you afraid?" Little Jing Kong stopped licking the candied haws and looked at Gu Jiao with his big eyes. After a while, he understood what she meant. "I'm not afraid." He said so. Gu Jiao nodded. It was good that he was not afraid. The first principle that Gu Jiao learned was the way of survival. She did not care much about whether people were good or bad. However, after having little Jing Kong, she began to care about it. It did not seem good to let a child learn how to escape from prison. Gu Jiao was thinking about how to educate little Jing Kong when little Jing Kong shook her hand. "Jiao Jiao, you're very powerful." Gu Jiao thought that he was talking about a child. Little Jing Kong said, "I want to be very powerful too. I want to be more powerful than Jiao Jiao. Then Jiao Jiao won't need to be powerful." Gu Jiao paused and looked at him in confusion. Little Jing Kong raised his head and looked into Gu Jiao's eyes with his clear eyes. "Jiao Jiao must be very hard, right? Master said that powerful people have suffered a lot, and they will continue to suffer a lot in the future." In fact, he did not understand why people had to suffer when they became powerful. Master said that it was because powerful people were destined to go up the mountain. Those who went up the mountain had to suffer, so they had to go down the mountain to be comfortable. This was the first time that someone asked Gu Jiao if it was hard. She joined the organization when she was 8 years old. She was whipped, electrocuted, tortured. Every day, she almost went into shock. People only cared about whether she could take on the next mission. No one cared about whether she was hard or not. Gu Jiao did not know how to answer for a moment. Little Jing Kong thought about what happened just now and lowered his head. Did I make Jiao Jiao feel tired?" Gu Jiao did not expect him to say that. Gu Jiao touched his little bald head. "No, it's not hard to raise little Jing Kong at all." "Really?" Little Jing Kong looked at her blankly. Gu Jiao saw a trace of hesitation in his eyes. This heartless little guy was actually more vulnerable than anyone else. Gu Jiao nodded firmly. "Yes, it's true." Little Jing Kong smiled again. He patted his little chest and said solemnly, "Jiao Jiao, wait for me to grow up. When I grow up, I'll carry you up the mountain." If powerful people had to go up the mountain, then he would carry Jiao Jiao up the mountain. Jiao Jiao did not need to walk. He would bear the hardships of Jiao Jiao. Gu Jiao did not understand what he meant by going up the mountain and going down the mountain, but she felt the little guy's concern. She squatted down and gently scratched the tip of his little nose. At this time, Gu Jiao did not know that someone had really fulfilled the promise that he made when he was 3.5 years old. This cute little ball of rice actually became such a majestic immortal general one day. In the 6 countries, in the world, no one dared to make her suffer anymore. When they returned to the village, little Jing Kong had already fallen asleep. He was lying in Gu Jiao's arms and drooling. There was a carriage parked at the entrance of the village. Gu Jiao did not pay attention to it, but when she approached the carriage, she saw a person standing beside it. It was none other than Marquis Gu, who ordered her and little Jing Kong to be taken to prison. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel is updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. There are all kinds of novels that you can't find on the internet. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_896428826/115958351. HTML Genius remembered the website address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Gu mobile reading website, zhbqg.com. Chapter 78. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels can be read for free. Novels with connotations that can't be found online can be found here. There was no one beside Marquis Gu except for his guard, Huang Zhong. Gu Jiao ruled out the possibility that he was here to catch her. But if he wasn't here to catch her, why would he be here? Gu Jiao didn't have a good impression of this Marquis who looked down on commoners like ants. She hugged little Jing Kong tightly and looked at him warily. If he dared to do anything to hurt them, she didn't mind taking his life here. Marquis Gu saw Gu Jiao's hostility. He coughed lightly and said seriously, "I'm not here to catch you. I have no ill intentions." Gu Jiao didn't care about this and continued to look at him warily. Marquis Gu's feelings were very complicated. On one hand, he couldn't accept that this girl who had tricked him time and time again was his long-lost flesh and blood. On the other hand, he couldn't bear to look back on their interactions. But no matter what, since he was here, he had to make things clear. Marquis Gu gave Huang Zhong a look, and Huang Zhong retreated. Marquis Gu flicked his wide sleeves and said, "My surname is Gu. I'm Marquis Ding, and of the Hot Spring Villa." Gu Jiao had guessed his identity long ago. When they first met, Gu Jinyu was sitting in his carriage. She recognized Gu Jinyu's voice. It seemed unlikely that there was a second person who could sit in Gu Jinyu's carriage and call himself Marquis. After meeting him in the forest, she looked at his face up close. It was a face that was very similar to Gu Yan's. If he said that he was not Gu Yan's biological father, she was afraid that she would not believe it. But he didn't say anything and Gu Jiao didn't point it out. Marquis Gu said, "Today's matter." Gu Jiao interrupted him, "If you're here to apologize, there's no need." "I don't care." Marquis Gu glared at her. "No, how can you say that? How can you be so impudent?" He did come with a trace of guilt, but he was the Marquis. How could he apologize to a girl? Didn't she know that there were no parents in this world? Her parents were gone. Ahem, he and Yao Shi had indeed not taught her. Gu Sanlang and Su Shi had left early, so they didn't have the time to teach her. I heard that she used to be a fool, and that she got over it recently. Thinking of this, Marquis Gu felt that he could be more lenient with her. He suppressed his boiling anger and said to her, "I came to find you because I have something to tell you. You might not believe me, but you, and why can't I say it out loud?" Marquis Gu was worried. "What do I have with you?" No matter how hard Gu Jiao racked her brains, she couldn't think of any relationship between this man and herself. However, she had lived for 2 lifetimes and had seen all kinds of weirdos. "Don't tell me you have some kind of weird fetish and like me?" Although her face was damaged, she was still young. Some men had such strong tastes. Marquis Gu stumbled and almost fell into the well in front of him. What kind of person did this girl think he was? How could she slander her own father like this? Marquis Gu's temper that he had suppressed with great difficulty came back up. "Do you know who I am?" "I am you." A quarter of an hour later, Marquis Gu limped back to the carriage with a bruised face. Huang Zhong walked over and was stunned. "Marquis, you were beaten? You weren't beaten by the young miss, right? You can't even beat the young miss?" Marquis Gu roared like a storm. "I didn't want to argue with her." He wouldn't admit that he couldn't beat her. This was too tragic. Huang Zhong couldn't bear to look at it. He had followed the Marquis for more than 10 years and had never seen him in such a sorry state. Huang Zhong asked, "Young miss hit you so hard? Didn't you tell her that you are her father?" When this was mentioned, Marquis Gu became even angrier. "Why didn't you tell her?" Huang Zhong didn't understand. "What did you say?" Marquis Gu was filled with righteous indignation. "I said I am her father. She said I scolded her and then she beat me up. And she beat him up very badly." Marquis Gu had never been wronged like this since he was a child. "Huang Zhong, why don't you say you are her father? Is the word father too hot to use?" After beating him up, Gu Jiao carried little Jing Kong, who was sleeping soundly, home. Xiao Lulang was not at home. He had gone to the provincial capital to take an exam and would only be back next month. The house seemed to have become quiet with one person missing. In fact, Xiao Lulang was very quiet at home. Shi stayed in his room most of the time. However, when Gu Jiao opened the door of the west room and didn't see the young man reading at the desk, she suddenly felt a little uncomfortable. Gu Jiao put little Jing Kong on the bed and pulled the quilt over him. Then she went to the kitchen to cook dinner. Little Jing Kong had eaten his fill in town. Gu Jiao didn't wake him up and sat in the central room with the old lady to eat. Gu Jiao asked, Xiao Shun didn't come over?" Gu Xiaoshun returned to the old house every night after dinner. "He said he would stay at the academy for a while," the old lady said as she picked up a piece of braised pork. Without Lulang and little silly girl, the braised pork was no longer delicious. Gu Jiao asked strangely, "Why did he suddenly go to the academy?" The old lady said, "I don't know. He left in a hurry." Gu Xiaoshun ruined the Gu family's plans. Gu Zhonghai, his wife, and the Lu matriarch wanted to beat him to death. In order to avoid trouble, he stayed at the academy overnight. The academy didn't allow outsiders to enter. The only Gu family member who could enter was Gu Dashun. The Gu family could let Gu Dashun beat him up if they wanted, but Gu Dashun couldn't beat him. "I'll send him some money tomorrow." Gu Jiao was worried that Gu Xiaoshun wouldn't have enough money to eat. "I'll give it to him," the old lady said. "Where did you get the money?" Gu Jiao asked. The old lady was very down and out when she first came to the house. She didn't even have a copper coin, let alone silver. During the new year, Gu Jiao gave her a big red packet, but it was in silver notes. The old lady snorted. "Did I tell you for nothing?" Gu Jiao was stunned. Did the old lady start a side business at home? The old lady said without changing her expression, "And your medicine? Since you don't want it anymore, I'll sell it all." Gu Jiao asked strangely, "What medicine?" The old lady said, "Golden sore medicine. You've been messing around at home for a few days. Do you think I don't know?" Gu Jiao said, "Oh, you know." She made the medicine during the day. Xiao Lulang wasn't at home. Although the old lady was, she didn't expect the old lady to know about the golden sore medicine, so she didn't hide it from her. She had high requirements for medicine. She made more than a dozen bottles and only kept the 3 bottles with the best effect. She didn't care that the rest of the bottles were missing. She thought the old lady threw them away. Who would have thought that the old lady secretly sold them? Gu Jiao heard the old lady's tone and said, "Have you done this before?" "You mean selling medicine? Oh, maybe. But I don't think I'm selling golden sore medicine." The old lady thought about it seriously and found a name from her few memories. It seems to be an aphrodisiac. Gu Jiao. According to later records, the virtuous empress sold aphrodisiac to the imperial concubines and took bribes to control the green head card. The virtuous empress's last words were, "Don't talk about feelings with me, the emperor. The highest bidder will sleep." Digression: The Virtuous Empress was the title of the Empress Dowager. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_826/115928088. HTML Genius memorized this site's address. www.zhbqg.com Biku Gu mobile reading website, zhbqg.com. Chapter 79. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are read for free. Novels with a deeper meaning that cannot be found online are all available here. After dinner, Gu Jiao tidied up the house and went to the west room to put a blanket over little Jing Kong. Then, she went back to her room to sleep. 2 months had passed since the last time she had a dream. Gu Jiao had not had a dream since then. Unexpectedly, she had a dream again that night. However, she did not dream of Xiao Lulang, but of herself. She dreamed that she had become the daughter of the Gu family and met Gu Jinyu from the hot spring villa. She also dreamed that they had returned to the capital together. She moved into a richly ornamented house. There were more than 10 servants serving her every day. There were also family members who doted on her that she had never met before. The servants respectfully called her Miss Gu, but the good times did not last long. Gu Jinyu was beautiful, demure and elegant. She was educated and well-spoken. On the other hand, she was ugly, uncouth, illiterate and clumsy with her speech. Compared to Gu Jinyu, she was a complete joke. Everyone said that the Gu family had brought back a wild girl from the countryside. The servants started to mock her. The daughters started to distance themselves from her. Even the family members who used to dote on her did not seem to know how to face her. In order to get back what was rightfully hers, she did some bad things under the instigation of others. This caused everyone to be extremely disappointed in her. In the end, she was sent to a villa outside the capital. She was depressed and heartbroken every day. Finally, she died of an illness in the cold winter. When Gu Jiao woke up, she wondered why she had such a dream. When she dreamed about Xiao Lulang, she knew that it would happen. However, it was different when it happened to her. It was not because of anything else. It was because the her in the dream was not her at all. She was not ignorant and incompetent, nor was she clumsy with her speech. She did not care about what others thought of her. She would not be jealous of Gu Jinyu. She would not be instigated by others. She would not use those stupid tricks on Gu Jinyu either. If she really wanted to kill someone, she would do it more cleanly than wiping the floor. As for being heartbroken because he couldn't get the love of his family, that was even more ridiculous. So, why did she have such a wild dream? Was there something wrong with his brain? On the other hand, Xiao Lulang and Feng Lin's carriage had finally arrived at the prefectural city, Ping City, after a long and arduous journey. They didn't arrive early, and the inns next to the examination hall were all full. They settled for the next best thing, and chose an inn 1 street away. 2 taels of silver for a room was simply asking for a sky-high price. However, there was nothing he could do about it. Who asked the examinees to wait? He could only obediently hand over the silver. When the capital examination was over, the first batch of failed candidates would leave, and the price would drop by half. When the academy envoys were also over, the price would drop by another half. Feng Lin and the coachman ate something unclean on the road and had a stomachache. Luckily, Gu Jiao had prepared some diarrhea medicine. Xiao Lulang was fine, but he was not used to sleeping every night. 2 days later, the capital examination began. The location of the capital examination was at the Ping City Examination Hall. The examinees entered the hall at 5 a.m. Different from the examination documents of the county examination, the examination documents of the capital examination were given to each examinee. The examination documents were called examination documents by the prefectural government. The examinee's name, examination shed, and seat number were written on it. There were 4 examination sheds in the examination hall in Ping City. Sheds were mostly for the top examinees in the county examination, and Xiao Lulang was also in one of them. The big examination shed was divided into numerous small examination rooms. Each examinee had one room. The space was not big, but there was a desk, a cushion, and a narrow wooden bed. Other than the examination documents, the examinees were not allowed to bring in anything else. The examinees' brushes, ink, paper, and inkstone were all provided by the examination hall. In addition, there were also 3 meals a day and a blanket for the night. If the examinees were tired, they could rest at any time. As long as they did not cheat or violate the rules of the examination hall, no one would interfere even if they slept there for 4 days and 4 nights. The capital examination did not have a one-off situation. Therefore, the examinees had to obediently complete the 3 rounds of examination. Other than when they went to the toilet, they were not allowed to leave the examination hall. Once they left, regardless of the situation, they could not return to the examination hall. The first round was on the scriptures. The scriptures for the capital examination require the examinees to know at least 3 scriptures. The classic of filial piety and the Analects of Confucius were a must. The rest of the examinees could choose from the Book of Songs and the Rites of Zhou, and write from memory according to the designated paragraph. This seemed simple, but one had to know that other than the classic of filial piety, which only had 2,369 words, the other 3 scriptures added up to more than 90,000 words. Even if the Rites of Zhou, which had the most words, was removed, there were still more than 50,000 words. The amount of memorization was huge. The number of questions for the scriptures was also very large. The fastest one could finish writing would be in the afternoon. Usually, there would be people handing in their papers one after another at dusk. Xiao Lulang only wrote for an hour before he stopped writing and went to sleep. His paper was covered under the white paper and pressed down with an inkstone. The invigilator was stunned. Was he finished? No, this was impossible. No one could answer so quickly, unless he had memorized the scriptures so well that he could write without thinking. This was not something that an ordinary genius could do. Who did he think he was? The former young chancellor, the young Marquis of Zhaodu? The invigilator felt that he most likely would not be able to answer, so he simply gave up writing. He was even the county examination's top case examinee. He was really an embarrassment to their county. After the examination, there was a person who came up to collect the papers. He would first paste the name and then put it into a special box. Even the invigilator was not able to see the paper. When they saw it, the name had already been masked, so they would not know which paper belonged to which examinee. Maybe it was because Xiao Lulang had left a deep impression on the invigilator in the first round. For the next 2 rounds, the invigilator also paid special attention to him. The second round of essays tested the examinee's ability to write. There were not many restrictions on the wording and style of writing. It could be considered the easiest round of the 3 rounds. Xiao Lulang only wrote for an hour before he covered his paper and went to sleep. Can you not give up on yourself like this? Essays are so simple. You don't even know how to write this? How did you become the county examination's top case examinee? Are the examinees of this batch so useless? The last round was an 8-part essay. It took 2 days to complete, which showed how difficult it was. Especially this time, the questions were personally set by Provincial Governor Zhuang from the capital. Provincial Governor Zhuang had taken 2 completely unrelated sentences from the Analects of Confucius: poverty without flattery, wealth without arrogance, quick to handle matters but cautious in speech. He had the examinees forcefully put them together to solve the question. In less than a quarter of an hour, 2 examinees collapsed from the pressure. They were carried out, and the exam was cancelled. The invigilator secretly cursed. Such a difficult exam, why didn't you give this grandpa a paw? He thought that Xiao Lulang would give up and go to sleep in less than an hour. Who knew that he would sit there without moving? Poverty without flattery, wealth without arrogance, quick to handle matters but cautious in speech. Why did Sir Zhuang give such a difficult assignment? Heng, help me do it. The young girl's bright smile flashed through his mind. It was vivid in his mind, as if it had happened yesterday. The newest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are also updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that cannot be found online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_896428826/1158888838. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Pavilion's mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. Chapter 80. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are read for free. Novels that cannot be found on the internet are all available here. On the evening of the 4th day, the exam ended. Feng Lin had been waiting here since early in the morning. After waiting for an entire day, the other examinees came out one after another. Only Xiao Lulang was nowhere to be seen. He could not help but worry. Just as he was wondering if he should ask the people inside, he saw Xiao Lulang come out with a cold expression. Feng Lin hurriedly went up to him and found that his complexion was not good. He asked, "What's wrong? Are you not feeling well? Or did you not do well?" "It's nothing," Xiao Lulang said lightly. Feng Lin heard that his voice was fine and thought that it should not be a problem with his body. He comforted him. "I just heard from the examinees that this time's exam questions were especially difficult. Don't be discouraged. They might not even do as well as you. Let's go back to the inn," Xiao Lulang said as he turned around and walked in the direction of the inn. Feng Lin wanted to say something but stopped. He had never seen Xiao Lulang like this before. Even though he had always been cold, he was not so cold that he did not dare to approach him. Xiao Liulong's body was filled with a chilling aura, as if he would do something terrible in the next second. Lulang, wait for me." Although Feng Lin was afraid, he still gritted his teeth and chased after him. He did not call him Brother Xiao anymore. After all, he was older than Xiao Lulang. The reason he called him Brother Xiao was because Xiao Lulang had saved him. But the two of them had spent New Year's Eve together and had a strong friendship. If he continued to call him Brother Xiao, it would be too distant. Xiao Lulang used his walking stick and did not walk as fast as Feng Lin. Feng Lin caught up with him in a short while. The two of them went back to the inn together. When they passed by a tea house, two middle-aged men wearing brocade clothes walked out. One of them inadvertently glanced at Xiao Lulang. At first, he didn't pay much attention to it, but he suddenly realized something and turned his head to look at Xiao Lulang. At this moment, Xiao Lulang and Feng Lin had already crossed the street and were heading towards the inn on the other side. His eyes followed Xiao Liulong's back until he completely disappeared around the corner. "Lord Zhuang, what's wrong? Did you see someone familiar? Do you want me to go and greet them?" The person who asked the question was the governor of Ping Cheng, surnamed Luo. Zhuang Xianzhi shook his head. "There's no need. He's not an acquaintance of mine. We just look similar." The young Marquis was already dead. He had personally dug out the young Marquis corpse from the ruins of the Directorate. The corpse had already been burned into a charred corpse by the fire. No matter how much time had passed, he would never be able to forget that tragic sight. Or perhaps, they didn't look alike at all, but he was just seeing things. Looking at the young Marquis's appearance and talent, it was impossible to find a second person like him in the entire 6 nations. Do you need me to confirm it? Governor Luo saw that Lord Zhuang seemed to be very concerned about the person who had mistaken him for someone else. He couldn't help but suggest that he go and take a look. Zhuang Xianji shook his head again. There's no need. That acquaintance has already passed away. Ah. There was no need to confirm if it was a dead person. Xiao Lulang and Feng Lin returned to the inn. As soon as they entered, they heard someone shouting, "Feng Duanzi." Feng Lin's hair stood on end. The shadow of his childhood instantly appeared on top of his head. He was no longer the Duanzi from back then. He had lost weight. Feng Lin looked over and saw a scholarly-looking youth rushing down the stairs excitedly. He came to Feng Lin and said with a smile, "It's really you, Feng Duanzi. You're good. You've changed so much that I almost couldn't recognize you." Who is he? The youth's gaze landed on Xiao Lulang. Xiao Lulang was even better looking than a girl. People couldn't help but take a few more glances at him. Moreover, he wasn't afraid of being beaten up by Feng Lin. Just now, the youth was first attracted by Xiao Lulang before noticing Feng Lin, who was beside Xiao Lulang. Feng Lin also recognized the youth and said in surprise, "Du Ruhan." The youth smiled and patted Feng Lin's shoulder. "It's me. It's really you." Feng Lin also smiled and introduced him to Xiao Lulang. "Lulang. Do you still remember him? Little Tummy. The 3 of us went to private school together when we were young." The youth looked at Xiao Lulang in disbelief. After a while, he said to Feng Lin, "You must have mistaken him for someone else. He's not Lulang." Feng Lin said with certainty, "I'm not mistaken. It's Lulang." The youth looked at Xiao Lulang suspiciously. "That little Lulang who moved away after staying for a year?" Feng Lin said, "Yes. It's him. Less than 2 years after he moved away, your family moved away too. Now that I think about it, we haven't seen each other for more than 10 years. The youth still felt that the other party was not Xiao Lulang. He said to Feng Lin, "If I can recognize you, why can't I recognize him?" Little Lulang was not that good-looking. Actually, Feng Lin did not recognize Xiao Lulang at first glance. It was only when he saw Xiao Liulong's travel permit that he knew that he was his childhood neighbor. In addition, Xiao Lulang had saved his life, so he had no doubts about Xiao Liulong's identity. As for Xiao Lulang not remembering the past, that was normal. It had been more than 10 years. Xiao Lulang was not even 7 years old when he moved away. What could a 6 or 7-year-old kid remember? That kid was very timid when he was young. He always hid behind his mother. Xiao Lulang went upstairs first. The youth and Feng Lin followed behind and whispered. The youth was the one who spoke. "Lulang is different now. He is very brave. He even saved me." Feng Lin said. "He is different." The youth glanced at Xiao Liulong's back. He felt that the other party had the aura of a young master from the capital. This aura was hard to detect if one had not seen it before. "What's wrong with his leg?" the youth asked in a bad mood in front of Xiao Lulang. "Half a year ago, he was injured while saving me. He is now receiving treatment." Feng Lin said guiltily and asked, "Speaking of which, where did you go after you moved away?" "I went to the capital," the youth said. Feng Lin's eyes widened. "You went to the capital?" It was Feng Lin's dream to go to the capital. Unfortunately, the capital was heavily guarded. For commoners like them, unless they were going to the capital for the exam, it was impossible to get a travel permit to the capital. The youth chuckled. "My aunt is a concubine in the capital. She brought our whole family over. Now, are you still jealous?" Feng Lin did not say anything. The youth laughed. "I lied to you. Let's go." The 3 of them ate dinner together. From the youth, Feng Lin found out that he was studying in a famous academy in the capital. 2 years ago, he passed the exam and was preparing for the provincial exam in August. This time, He was traveling with his uncle to broaden his horizons. Throughout the meal, only the youth and Feng Lin conversed. Xiao Lulang was a man of few words and did not like to talk to others. This kid was not like this before. After Xiao Lulang returned to the house, the youth pulled Feng Lin aside and whispered. Feng Lin said softly, "His mother and brother have passed away. It has not been easy for him these years." Oh. The youth did not say anything else. After a while, he changed the topic. "You are going to take the exam this year, right? I will wait for you in the capital." Feng Lin thought for a while and said, "I will take the exam with Lulang." The youth pursed his lips. "How do you know he will pass? That kid's brain is not good. Have you forgotten that he was scolded by the teacher?" Even if he could not remember how Xiao Lulang looked like when he was young, the youth did not forget Xiao Liulong's embarrassing past. He was not stupid. It was just that his reaction time was slower than others. This kind of person could work, but study would be difficult. Feng Lin said seriously, "Lulang is different now. He passed the county exam and this time, although the questions are difficult, I believe he will pass the exam." The youth laughed evilly. "Let's make a bet. He will not pass." Feng Lin decisively asked him to leave. No one could look down on Xiao Lulang, not even his childhood friends. After being chased out of the inn by Feng Lin, the young man no longer had the mood to stroll around. Bored, he returned to the governor's office. When the guards saw him, they respectfully opened the door for him. As soon as he stepped into the courtyard, he was stopped in his tracks by a stern voice. "Where have you been? Why are you back so late?" The young man turned around embarrassedly, smiled, and said, "Hello, uncle. Didn't you go to mark the exam papers? How did you finish so quickly?" Provincial Governor Zhuang sternly said, "Don't change the topic. I'm asking you, where have you been?" The youth laughed dryly. "I met 2 of my old neighbors in Song County and chatted with them for a while. Dinner. I also ate with them." Provincial Governor Zhuang coldly said, "Do you think I will believe you? Did you go and do something indecent again? I promised your aunt to bring you out, not to let you idle around. Guards, lock him in the room. Without my orders, he is not allowed to take half a step out." The youth cried out, "I didn't. Uncle. I really went to meet some friends. They are staying at Yueli Inn. One of them is called Feng Lin. The other is called Xiao Lulang. Xiao Lulang is this year's examinee. He just finished your perverted exam questions today." His face turned green. "If you don't believe me, you can send someone to check." The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_896/115852814. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Gu mobile reading website, zhbqg.com. Chapter 81. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel will be updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels will be read for free. All the novels that cannot be found online will be available here. After hearing this, Du Ruhan knew that there was no hope for him today. He hated his mouth. Why did he speak the truth at such a critical moment? Sure enough, when Governor Luo came to mediate the fight, Du Ruhan had already been served by Zhuang Xianji to the point that even his parents couldn't recognize him. Governor Luo asked awkwardly and respectfully, "Sir, should we investigate those 2 people?" Zhuang Xianji rejected him immediately. "Is that fellow telling the truth? Governor Luo's mouth twitched. Young Master Du said that the questions you set were perverted. He was telling the truth. Gu Jiao knew nothing about what happened in Pingcheng. She was on the way to the hot spring villa. This morning, Second Master came to her personally and told her about this month's consultation. Although I know that we were talking about consultation, you know young Master Gu's situation. It is indeed inconvenient for him to go out. Second Master did not know that Gu Yan had come to see her not long ago and that she had already given him a follow-up consultation. Gu Jiao paused. Okay. Second Master was stunned. She was so easy to talk to. I have been holding back all this time. Was it all for nothing? The weather was good and the carriage moved quickly. They arrived at the villa in less than 2 hours. The attitude of the people in the villa towards them had changed greatly. Although the guards still looked serious, they were very polite. The servant who came to pick them up was the same person as last time. Her name was Yu Ye. Yu Ye led Gu Jiao, the second boss, and the old doctor to a pavilion near the small garden. The young master is soaking in the hot spring. Please wait for a moment. I will go and report to the young master. The hot spring was closer to the pavilion. Yu Ye was not sure where the young master wanted to see the doctor. If he wanted to go to the hot spring, there was no need to bring them to the main courtyard. Yu Ye went to ask the young master for instructions and instructed a servant to bring some snacks and tea from the kitchen to serve Gu Jiao and the other two. This treatment was much better than the previous time. The second boss tasted a mouthful of the rose cake and smiled from ear to ear. Is it really that good? Gu Jiao asked. The second boss smiled and said, the things in the Marquis estate are expensive not because they are delicious, but because you can't eat them. He wasn't eating snacks, but glory. Woo, woo. While they were waiting, the sound of something crying came from the small garden. All three of them heard it. The old doctor followed the sound and asked in puzzlement, what's that sound? The second boss stopped eating and listened attentively, but he didn't hear anything. I'll go take a look. Gu Jiao said. Don't. The second boss wanted to stop her, but was Gu Jiao someone who could be stopped so easily? She got up and went down the steps to the little garden. She followed the sound and soon found the little thing trapped under the fence. It was a little puppy that had just been born. It was unknown how it got stuck in the fence and there was a circle of thorns under the fence. The result was that the more it struggled, the more the thorns pierced into its flesh. It was in so much pain that its eyes were filled with tears. When it saw someone come, it didn't know if it was frightened or excited. It stuck out its little tongue, but it didn't expect to lick the thorns, causing it to whimper in pain. It really is a stupid little puppy. Gu Jiao squatted down and rubbed its furry little head. Don't move. The little puppy didn't understand, but it still moved. It was in so much pain. In order to save it, she had to first move the fence and then pull out the thorns from the little puppy's body one by one. Gu Jiao chose the best position and began to pull the fence. At this time, a servant girl wearing an apricot-colored vest came over. Who is it? Stop right now. Gu Jiao didn't stop. Gu Jiao had a small basket on her back and was dressed like a village girl. The servant girl only felt that this dress was familiar, but did not think much of it. She strode over and grabbed Gu Jiao's small basket. I told you to stop, didn't you hear me? Gu Jiao calmly turned her head. Her cold gaze was like a knife, scaring the servant girl into letting go. Then, the servant girl recognized her. It's you? Gu Jiao also recognized her. It was the servant who had rummaged through her pouch at Rejuvenation Hall and slandered her as a thief. She was Gu Jinyu's trusted aide called Yu Ru. Why are you here? Yu Ru frowned. She remembered that she had heard that the doctor from Rejuvenation Hall had come to examine the young master. Her face darkened. You're just a little medicine boy. You don't have to follow me every time. Gu Jiao was too lazy to pay attention to her and moved to pull the fence. Yu Ru scolded. What are you doing? That place is filled with young Miss Flowers. Are you worthy of ruining it? Woo, woo. The puppy cried out in pain. Yu Ru glanced at it and sneered. just because of a mutt? Your dog. Sure enough, like person like dog. Do you know how much one peony here costs? I'm selling you and your dog. Noisy. Gu Jiao frowned in annoyance and pulled the fence up. Yu Ru's expression changed and she pounced at her. Actually, when Gu Jiao pulled the fence up, she had avoided the peonies. However, when Yu Ru pounced on the fence, the end of the fence swept and broke one of the peonies. That was the one that bloomed the most beautifully. Yu Ru's face turned pale. She suddenly retreated a few steps, far away from the scene. She covered her mouth with one hand and pointed at Gu Jiao with the other. You broke young Miss Flowers. You broke it yourself. You're blaming me. It was Yu Er's voice. She came back after reporting to Gu Yen. Gu Yen told her to bring her to the hot springs. She happened to see this scene. Shameless. Yu Er said. Yu Ru was Gu Jinyu's personal maid. Not many people in the villa dared to speak to her like this. Yu Ru's face darkened. She broke it. She pulled the fence up. If you don't believe me, ask them. They all saw it. Unknowingly, a few servants had gathered around to watch the show. Yu Ru asked them to testify. Yu Er put her hands on her hips and said, "All right, tell me. Who broke it?" Everyone lowered their heads. Yu Ru's backer was Gu Jinyu. It was not worth offending her for a little medicine boy. It was not that Gu Yen was not scary, but Yu Er's attitude was not instructed by Gu Yen. Who did not know that the young master hated these cats and dogs? Yu Ru sneered, "See? She's the one who broke it." Gu Jiao, who was pointed at by Yu Ru, did not care about the noise around her. She removed the thorns on the puppy's body and wrapped it in a clean handkerchief. The handkerchief was soon dyed red by the puppy's blood. Woo. The puppy was in so much pain that it teared up. The second boss and senior servant Fong arrived at the same time. Senior servant Fong still remembered Gu Jiao climbing into the bed. She did not have a good impression of Gu Jiao, especially when she saw the bloody puppy in her hands. She became even more impatient. "Why aren't you throwing it out?" These words were not only directed at Gu Jiao, but also at the second boss. The second boss knew that Gu Jiao would not throw it out. "Give it to me. I'll put it in the carriage." The second boss reached out to take the puppy. However, Gu Jiao did not give it to him. The second boss face-bombed. The little girl was amenable to coaxing but not coercion. Couldn't she talk nicely? Did she have to be fierce to her? He was done for. Senior servant Fong said coldly, "I'll say it again. Throw this little beast out. Otherwise, she will also get out." "Who are you telling to get out?" Accompanied by an indifferent voice, Gu Yan's sedan was carried over by the servants. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that you can't find online are all available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_89642826115817904. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Pavilion's mobile reading website, zhbqg.com. Chapter 82. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are all available here. Young master. Nanny Fong and everyone hurriedly bowed to Gu Yen. The second master also cupped his hands and bowed. The social hierarchy in Zhao country was strict. As a businessman, the second master naturally had to bow when he saw the Marquis's son. Gu Jiao was no exception, but she didn't have the habit of bowing to others. She stared fixedly at Gu Yen. When everyone knelt down, she stood out like a crane among chickens, making it impossible for people not to notice her. The second master subtly pulled on her sleeve and motioned for her to bow. Although they were here to treat the young master, they couldn't be rude to him, right? Gu Yen acted as if he didn't see it. He didn't greet Gu Jiao, nor did he force Gu Jiao to bow. He looked at Nanny Fong. "Do you want me to ask again?" Nanny Fong was so shocked that she forgot to answer. Now that she came back to her senses, she told Gu Yen about Gu Jiao holding the puppy and refusing to throw it out. As for Gu Jiao ruining the peony flowers, she didn't mention it. After all, she didn't see it with her own eyes, so it wasn't her place to say it. Everyone in the residence knew that Gu Yen hated these little things the most. He thought they were noisy. Not long ago, Gu Yen had a rabbit that didn't bark, but it was forcefully thrown out by Gu Jinyu. This girl really hit the knife's edge. She probably didn't even know how she died. Sure enough, when Gu Yan's gaze fell on the bloody puppy in Gu Jiao's arms, his aura suddenly turned cold. Nanny Fong snorted coldly. "I told you to throw it out, but you didn't. Did it fall into the young master's hands? Where did the dog come from?" Gu Yan asked. "I picked it up." Gu Jiao said, "It was stuck in the fence and stabbed by thorns." Gu Yan glanced at the fence. The fence that Gu Jiao had picked up had been put back in place, but traces of movement could still be seen on the refurbished soil. Yuru glanced at the broken peony flower. Her mind moved and she said, "She also broke young Miss Peony Flower. Just for this dog." Yuya spat. "You're the one who broke it." "It's her." Yuru coldly pointed at Gu Jiao. "It's you." Yuya placed her hands on her hips. Gu Yan's face became extremely cold. Anyone could see that he was angry. He had a heart disease, so he couldn't get angry easily. Otherwise, he would get sick. Otherwise, Master and Marchioness wouldn't spoil him so much. They even gave him such an expensive antique painting, even though they knew that he was tearing it to vent his anger. "Both of you, shut up," Nanny Fong sternly shouted. The two maidservants instantly fell silent. Gu Yan glanced at everyone present and then looked at Gu Jiao, who was among the flowers. "You all saw that she did it, right?" This was the tone of a punitive expedition, so everyone lowered their heads in tacit agreement. "No, it's not her." Yuya was a little frightened by Gu Yan's aura, so her voice also weakened. Gu Yan lightly said, "They all said that she did it. You're the only one who said that it wasn't her." "It's not her," Yuya muttered in a low voice. Yuru proudly hooked up the corners of her mouth. No matter what, the young miss was the young master's older sister. How could the young master not believe her personal maidservant and believe a wild girl from outside? As for this Yuya, she was only a third-rank maidservant in the young master's courtyard. She didn't even have the qualifications to serve the young master. Her words naturally didn't have much weight. "Very good." Gu Yan nodded. "What's your name?" Yuya was stunned. Me? Yuya, Gu Yan said, "Other than Doya, drive everyone out of the mountain villa for this young master." "It's Yuya." "No, drive them out of the mountain villa? It wasn't her?" Yuya was stunned. Everyone's expression changed at the same time. Why didn't the young master punish Yuya and the little medicine boy, but drive them out instead? The only one who had a normal expression was Gu Jiao. From beginning to end, there wasn't the slightest change in her expression. She only focused on comforting the injured little puppy. Yuru pounced over in disbelief. "Young master, you're my ass." Two hidden guards quickly appeared and pressed down on her with one finger. They threw her and all the servants who tried to slander Gu Jiao out. The guards who were about to step forward to carry out the order were a little dumbfounded. Where did these two guys come from? Are they trying to steal our jobs in broad daylight? The hidden guards in black thought, "Hey, you guys don't know anything about our little sweetheart. How could we give you guys such a good opportunity to curry favor with him? In the end, only senior servant Fong was left. She was Madame Yao's concubine, so the mountain villa's guards definitely wouldn't dare to touch her. However, the hidden guards didn't say anything and dragged her out. Senior servant Fong shouted, "Let me go. I want to see the madam. I want to see the madam." Whoosh. A hidden guard hit her mute acupoint and she instantly couldn't make a sound. The guards all gave them a thumbs up. You guys even dared to touch senior servant Fong. You guys are awesome. After the hidden guards in black finished doing this, they immediately disappeared into the darkness. When the young master needed them, they were hidden weapons. When the young master didn't need them, they were air. The second master's mouth was wide open and couldn't close for a long time. Gu Yen had someone put down the palanquin. He walked down to Gu Jiao and gently smiled. "How was it? Did it relieve your anger?" The second master thought, "Wait, what's going on? You threw so many people out just to relieve the little lass's anger?" Gu Jiao seriously thought about it and nodded. "It relieved my anger." Gu Yan's smile became even wider. He was born handsome, so when he smiled, even the spring scenery in the garden was overshadowed. "It lost a lot of blood. Is it seriously injured?" Gu Yan looked at the little puppy in her arms and asked. "Yes, I need to find a place to stop the bleeding. You can come to my courtyard." Gu Yan brought Gu Jiao back to his room. "Doya, bring a clean mattress over." "It's Yuya." Yuya put her hands on her hips and roared in her heart. Yuya took the small mattress to Gu Yan's room with a dark face and spread it on Gu Yan's desk. Gu Jiao cleaned the little puppy's wounds with iodophor and applied some self-made ointment. She also wrapped some gauze around some places. "Do you have goat's milk?" she asked. "Yes, Doya, Gu Yan asked Yuya to bring a bowl of fresh goat's milk. The little puppy licked its lips and drank it. After drinking it, it fell asleep. During the whole process, Gu Yan didn't disturb Gu Jiao. He sat cross-legged on the bed and focused on playing with Gu Jiao's stethoscope. He hung the stethoscope on his ear and lowered his head. He listened to his heart and his stomach. Wow! It's so loud. The world-weary and disagreeable young Master Gu had finally become a curious baby. The old doctor routinely checked Gu Yan's pulse. Gu Yan was very cooperative with the old doctor. His attitude was so good that the old doctor was flattered. Gu Yan's pulse also surprised the old doctor. Of course, there was still a lot of difference compared to a normal person, but compared to his past, it was a great improvement. Digression. It will be published tomorrow. The update will be at noon. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel will be updated even faster. Millions of novels will be read for free. Novels with connotations that can't be found on the internet can be found here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_8964286/115785229. HTML Genius memorized the website address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Gu mobile reading website, zhbqg.com. Chapter 83. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels can be read for free. Novels with connotations that can't be found online can be found here. The old doctor couldn't help but admire Gu Jiao's medical skills again. There was no cure for heartache. This kind of illness was truly incurable in this day and age. It was already a miracle that it was able to get better. The young master's pulse is good. Continue to take the medicine. He didn't know that Gu Jiao had given the medicine to Gu Yan a few days ago. He continued to act. This old man refined for a long time and finally finished refining the medicine last night. Last Gu, did you bring the medicine? Remember to give it to young Master Gu later. Gu Jiao, I already gave it to him more than 10 days ago. She was suddenly exposed. Gu Yen rolled over on the bed laughing. The matter in the small garden finally reached the head steward's ears. In the past few days, the Marchioness had caught a cold. She was afraid that the illness would spread to Gu Yen. With Gu Yan's health, even a small cold could take his life, so she moved to the orchid courtyard at the back alone. Marquis Gu made all the decisions in the manor. Thus, the head steward reported it to Marquis Gu. He didn't add any details and only described the matter from beginning to end, including how Gu Jiao pulled the fence to save the puppy, the dispute between Yuru and Gu Jiao, as well as how she accidentally damaged Gu Yan's peony, and how Nanny Fong angered Gu Yen. The head steward sighed. Yuru is from the capital and has always looked down on the servants in the manor. This time, she learned her lesson. It's just a pity for Nanny Fong. Marquis Gu coldly snorted. What's there to pity? She chased everyone out. I think she's been a steward for too long and forgot that she's just a servant. Whether or not he recognized that child wasn't someone that a lowly servant could bully. The head steward was a bit confused. What's wrong with being a servant? Isn't that still a higher status than the little medicine boy? What's more, Nanny Fong is the Marchioness's concubine, and the Marquis has always thought highly of her. Why did he suddenly say such harsh words? Marquis Gu asked. Aren't they coming in the afternoon? Brought forward? Why didn't anyone report this to me? The post said it was in the afternoon. The second boss planned to come in the afternoon, but he didn't expect Gu Jiao to be so straightforward and leave in the morning. Generally, the doctors among the people would not be able to see the Marquis. At most, they would kowtow to the Marquis after the treatment to get a chance to show their faces. Therefore, the steward did not report to the Marquis in advance. Since senior servant Fong had been scolded, the head steward naturally didn't dare to shirk the responsibility. It's this servant's fault. Please forgive me, Marquis. Where is he? Marquis Gu asked. I think they went to the young master's courtyard. The young master really thought too highly of the people from Huichun Hall. Even if those servants did something wrong, there was no need to drive out senior servant Fong and Yuru, right? If the Marquise and the young miss knew about this, wouldn't they be in trouble? This Marquis will go and take a look. Marquis Gu said and stood up from the chair. Marquis. The head steward called out to him. Those people outside, how should we deal with them? Marquis Gu pondered for a moment. Leave senior servant Fong and send the rest away. Senior servant Fong was Madame Yao's escort. If he sent her away, it would be hard to explain to Madame Yao. His son could drive people out, but he couldn't not bring them back. It was hard to be a father, but it was even harder to be a husband. Moreover, other than having a somewhat annoying personality, senior servant Fong didn't have any bad intentions. She was very loyal to Madame Yao and did her job well. Should we send Miss Yuru away as well? The head steward asked. Marquis Gu coldly said, shouldn't we send away this kind of condescending maidservant who framed others for the new year? Will you take responsibility if she leads Jinyu astray? The head steward hurriedly responded, yes, yes, yes. This humble one will do it right away. Also, Marquis Gu ordered, tell senior servant Fong not to go to Yen Er's courtyard after she comes back. Yes. Gu Yan's temper wasn't good. Every month, he would drive away a group of people, so this matter didn't cause a huge uproar in the mountain villa at first. However, when people heard that senior servant Fong and Yuru were also kicked out, they were really surprised. In the past, no matter how angry the young master was, he wouldn't touch the people around the Marchioness and the young miss. What happened this time? The person involved, Gu Jiao, didn't know anything about everyone's doubts. After she exposed herself in front of Gu Yen, she quietly went to the front courtyard to take a breather. She wanted to be alone. It was also her fault for not informing the old doctor beforehand. However, she really didn't expect the old doctor to be so naughty. He actually learned the second boss and shopkeeper Wang's method of bragging. He had just finished decocting the medicine yesterday, but she had already given it to Gu Yen 10 days ago. She had been sold until she didn't even have her underwear left. Gu Yen was looking at her in the corridor with a smile. Gu Jiao, you're still looking, you're still looking. You're still smiling. I don't want my face. Gu Jiao turned the back of her head to Gu Yen. Coincidentally, the cute little puppy woke up at this moment. It started to whimper and look around for Gu Jiao. Gu Yen picked it up. The cute little puppy was scared as soon as it got close to Gu Yen. Its little body trembled and it whimpered. Gu Yen wasn't stingy with his death stare. He didn't have any love. He hated these cute little things, especially when it was in her arms. She hasn't hugged me before. Gu Yen stared at it with jealousy, as if he was going to pinch it to death in the next second. The cute little puppy felt Gu Yan's murderous aura and barked even louder. Ow. Gu Yen snorted. For her sake, I'll spare you. Although he hated this little thing, since she liked it, it was fine if he didn't hate it that much. When Marquis Gu stepped into the courtyard, he saw Gu Jiao and Gu Yen squatting on the front lawn to make a doghouse. There was a pile of wood scattered on the ground. Gu Jiao was in charge of chopping, Gu Yen was in charge of building, and Gu Jiao was also in charge of nailing. The two of them had a tacit understanding. Often, after Gu Jiao finished one step, Gu Yen knew what the next step was, even though he had never built a doghouse like this before. The two of them had the same taste. The servants brought in all kinds of mattresses to cushion the doghouse. The two of them either liked all of them or disliked all of them. The two of them were like children playing seriously, enjoying each other's company very much. Were they really fraternal twins? Gu Jinyu and Gu Yen grew up together. Marquis Gu had thought of countless ways to get the siblings closer, but the two of them just couldn't play together. Actually, it wasn't just Gu Jinyu. Other people also found it difficult to get along with Gu Yen. This child was full of thorns and would prick anyone who got close to him. Marquis Gu had never seen such an obedient son. His bad temper was gone, and so was that girl. She was much quieter. If that girl was always like this, she didn't seem to be so annoying. I don't want this. It's too ugly. Gu Yen said as he held a roof that Gu Jiao had made. But I don't think it's ugly. Gu Jiao said. This was the last step. Once the roof was nailed up, it would be finished. Gu Yen looked up at the sky. I don't care. I don't want it. Okay. Gu Jiao took apart the roof that she had painstakingly made and made a new one. The second boss was also quite puzzled. The girl was easily irritable. Other than Xiao Lulang, he had never seen her so patient with anyone. Gu Yan's little thoughts couldn't be hidden from Marquis Gu. He couldn't bear to see Gu Jiao continue to stay here after the doghouse was finished. Twins were always special. Even if they were doing the same thing, looking at twins was more interesting than looking at other children. Perhaps it wasn't a bad thing to acknowledge them. But if they did, Gu Jinyu would suffer some grievances. Marquis Gu was worried that Gu Yen would bully Gu Jinyu even more. If it was any other son, Marquis Gu could still strictly stop him. But Gu Yen had a congenital illness. If anyone made him unhappy, he could just kill them on the spot. Marquis Gu's head hurt. Marquis. Huang Zhong came over. What are you doing here? Marquis Gu moved outside so that the people in the yard couldn't see him. He didn't want to disturb the two children's play. Huang Zhong said seriously, I heard that Miss is here. I'm here to protect you so that you won't be beaten by Miss again. Marquis Gu gave him a cold stare. Is it because I can't beat her? I'm giving in to her. Oh. Huang Zhong didn't believe him. Thinking of something, Marquis Gu asked, Do you have silver needles? Yes. Huang Zhong took out a secret weapon box. What do you need silver needles for? Marquis Gu said, I want to take a drop of her blood. Huang Zhong asked, What do you want Miss Blood for? You don't believe that Miss is your biological daughter? Marquis Gu said angrily, Am I the one who doesn't believe it now? She doesn't believe it. Huang Zhong thought of Marquis Gu Yan's, I'm your father, and his mouth twitched. That's because there's something wrong with your way of saying it. Marquis Gu snorted. I don't care. If she doesn't believe it, I'll take out evidence to make her believe it. Huang Zhong said again, Then why don't you tell Miss directly? Marquis Gu glanced at him. Do you think she'll give it to me if I tell her? Huang Zhong, she won't. But isn't it too much to prick Miss with needles? Why don't you prick her? Marquis Gu looked coldly at Huang Zhong. You prick her. Huang Zhong broke out in cold sweat. He didn't dare. Marquis Gu really went over with silver needles. When the people in the courtyard saw him, they all stood up and bowed. Even the second boss and the old doctor who were drinking tea in the courtyard stood up. He waved his hand, indicating for everyone to do what they were supposed to do and not make a fuss. He came to the front of the siblings. The light above his head dimmed. The two looked up at him and ignored him, continuing to bury their heads in the kennel. Marquis Gu, who was ignored. Forget it. He was here to take blood. It was good that they ignored him. It would be easier for him to sneak up on them. He stood there and waited for the right time. In a moment, the two looked up at the same time and looked at him with disdain. Marquis Gu smiled. Do you not know where to do it? Let me help you. Gu Yen said with disdain, You're blocking the light. Marquis Gu's face darkened. He silently went behind the two. Soon, he found that this position was better. He could prick anywhere. One needle was enough. Marquis Gu secretly waited for the right time. Gu Jiao was nailing the needles on the roof when she suddenly felt two gazes that could not be ignored fall on her. She turned her head in annoyance and met Marquis Gu's gaze. Marquis Gu was ready to insert the needles. He did not expect Gu Jiao to be so sharp and almost caught him in the act. He put the hand that was holding the silver needles behind his back. Gu Jiao looked at his hand that was retracted and then looked at her own shoulder. She felt that his guilty look was very wretched. Don't get in our way here. Gu Yen sensed Gu Jiao's repulsion towards Marquis Gu and began to chase him away. Marquis Gu was so angry that he fell backwards. Was he still their father? If he was not his biological son, he would have beaten him to death. Marquis Gu would not give up so easily. If he could not do it openly, then he would do it secretly. He coughed lightly and said, It must have been hard on you all. Regarding my son's illness, I have many things to ask. I see that Miss Gu is tired. Why don't you go to the side room to rest? Hu Jia and Dr. Li, follow me to the study. Hu Jia and Dr. Li went to Marquis Gu's study. Gu Yen and Gu Jiao carried the little puppy back to the side room. Gu Yen could not keep watching over Gu Jiao. Taking advantage of the time when he went to the outhouse, Marquis Gu also found an excuse to leave the study. He secretly put some calming medicine in the tea and found a servant girl to deliver it to Gu Jiao. Once she fell asleep, it would be easy to take her blood. His idea was not bad, but unexpectedly, Gu Jiao smelled that something was wrong. She stopped the servant girl. Who asked you to deliver this tea? The servant girl said, It was Marquis Gu. Gu Jiao's eyes turned cold. He failed to reach out his perverted pig hands, so he planned to drug her? At this age, he was old enough to be her father. She did not expect him to be so perverted. Gu Jiao clenched her small fists. She went to the window and lifted the curtains. She saw Marquis Gu squatting sneakily under the windowsill. Gu Jiao's murderous aura was like a knife. Marquis Gu sensed that something was wrong from her murderous aura. His heart trembled as he took a step back and said, Well, listen to my explanation. I actually... Buddha mountain no shadow feet. Ah, boom, bang, bang bang bang, bang, thump, gulp. I don't know how to swim. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with connotations that can't be found online are all available here. https://www.zhhbqg com/89642_826/115745103. HTML Genius memorized the website address in 1 second. www.zhhbqg.com Biku Gu mobile reading website, zhhbqg.com. Chapter 84. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found online are all available here. Huang Zhong found his master on a large tree about 100 steps away from the courtyard. Marquis Gu had been scooped up by Gu Jiao and hung on a large tree branch. It was like hanging a wet shirt. There wasn't a dry spot on his body and it was dripping with water. When Huang Zhong saw him, he was shocked. Luckily, it was broad daylight. If it was night time, he might have thought that he had seen a ghost. Marquis, why did you hang yourself on a tree? Did I do it? It was that audacious girl. And why is your face swollen? It was still that girl. Every time he saw that girl, nothing good would happen. There wasn't a single part of his body that wasn't swollen. He finally realized that the girl was here to jinx him. I don't want to acknowledge her back. Gu Jiao bid farewell to Gu Yen. Gu Yen was very reluctant, but Gu Jiao promised that she would come for a follow-up examination very soon. Only then did he reluctantly let Gu Jiao go. He and Gu Jiao sat in his sedan chair together and sent Gu Jiao to the carriage. This action once again shocked the group of servants, causing their jaws to drop. One had to know that Gu Yan's sedan chair was his absolute private territory. Once, the young Gu Yen climbed in out of curiosity and was kicked down by Gu Yen. I'll let you sit in it next time, Gu Yen said to Gu Jiao. Gu Jiao nodded. Okay. After Gu Jiao left the hot spring villa, she didn't immediately return to town. Instead, she went to Principal Li's house. Principal Li was at the academy, so there was only old Madam Li and the servants at home. Old Madam Li wasn't awake much in a day. It was said that sometimes she didn't even recognize Principal Li. But she seemed to recognize Gu Jiao and gave Gu Jiao a big handful of candies with a smile. Gu Jiao checked her body. She was fine, but she was old. Her memory was deteriorating and her body was aging. Gu Jiao left a basket of fresh goods for her. She noticed that old Madam Li was drooling at a mulberry tree outside the wall. Gu Jiao went out of the courtyard and planned to pick some mulberries for old Madam Li. But when she got closer, she realized that the mulberry tree wasn't wild on the side of the road. It was planted in the courtyard next door. Because the tree crown was so tall, it poked out of the wall of her house. Gu Jiao thought for a moment, then walked over and knocked on the door. Who is it? Accompanied by a low cough, the vermilion door was pulled open. The one who opened the door was a lady with an elegant temperament. Gu Jiao recognized her at first glance. She also recognized Gu Jiao. She used a handkerchief to cover her mouth and gently coughed. She then revealed a faint smile. Miss, it's you. Gu Jiao was stunned. She had come to pick mulberries. How did she run into the madam of the temple? Madam, you live so far away? To go from here to the temple to burn incense, it was not an exaggeration to say that it was a long journey. My surname is Gu. Yao Shi gently said. Gu. Was there a second rich and powerful Gu family in this world? The answer was no. Gu Jiao quickly guessed her identity, but she did not say that she was the Marchioness. Gu Jiao did not point it out. Yao Shi invited Gu Jiao in. She had been sunbathing in the courtyard. She had a rattan chair and a table. She pointed at the wooden stool and said, Sit. Gu Jiao sat down. She found that there was not a single servant in the courtyard. Yao Shi saw her confusion and said with a smile, I wanted to be alone for a while, so I had them go to the front yard. This is the backyard. Does Miss also live nearby? Gu Jiao said, I was passing by and saw that the mulberries were delicious, so I wanted to come in and ask. Did I disturb Madame Gu? There's no such thing. Yao She was very happy to see Gu Jiao. She did not know why. I'll have someone pick them for you. Yao She called over a servant to pick mulberries for Gu Jiao. She pulled Gu Jiao into the courtyard and said, I still do not know Miss Name. Gu Jiao. Gu Jiao said. Yao She smiled in surprise. Your surname is also Gu? 500 years ago we were family. Gu Yan had also said this before. It was no wonder they were mother and son. Yao She's situation was not very good. After saying a few words, she began to cough violently. Gu Jiao looked at her pale face and paused. She then said, Madam Gu, if you don't mind, can I take your pulse? Miss Gu is proficient in the art of medicine? I know a bit. Yao She smiled and reached out to place her hand on the table. The servant finished picking a basket full of mulberries and came over to ask Yao She to take a look. Yao She waved her hand to indicate for her to leave. The servant gently placed the mulberries on the table and left. Her pulse was not very good, but her actual situation was worse than it appeared. Gu Jiao calmly pulled back her hand and asked Yao She, Madam Gu, how is your sleep? Yao She replied, Not very good. It's hard for me to fall asleep. Gu Jiao asked, Appetite? Yao She slightly shook her head, I don't have much of an appetite. Gu Jiao paused. Was it like this before you caught a cold? Yao She, Gu Jiao, how long has it been? Yao She, I don't remember the exact time. In short, it's been a long time. Gu Jiao asked a few more questions. In truth, the imperial physicians had also asked her, but Yao She did not want to open her heart. Every time, she would answer half-heartedly. Yao She trusted Gu Jiao a lot and answered all of her questions truthfully. Gu Jiao then said, Madam Gu, you've seen a physician before, right? What did they say? Yao She bitterly smiled. They said that I was overly worried and told me to relax and not think too much. They also prescribed medicine. But it didn't have much effect, so I stopped eating it after that. That was it. The physician had said that she was overly worried. In her previous life, it would be called depression. But at the same time, she also had hysteria. Once it flared up, it would be very dangerous. Gu Jiao took out 2 boxes of antidepressants from her medicine box and replaced them with a porcelain bottle. Yao She sat across from Gu Jiao. She only saw the lid of the medicine box and did not see what Gu Jiao had done. Gu Jiao handed the porcelain bottle to Yao She and told her how to use it. She then reminded her, Madam Gu, you must take this medicine. Only then will you get better. If the imperial physician's medicine had no effect, how could the medicine handed over by a young girl have any effect? But the young girl had worked for a long time, so Yao She could not bear to refuse her good intentions. She took the medicine and smiled. All right. Gu Jiao seriously looked into her eyes. You cannot throw away the medicine. You must promise me that you will take the medicine on time. Yao She had not seen such sincere eyes in a long time. The people that wanted to cure her were not curing her. They were curing the madam of the Marquis Manor. If she was not the Marquis' wife, no one would even look at her. But the young girl in front of her was someone that truly wanted to cure her. Yao She wanted to pay Gu Jiao for her treatment. Gu Jiao shook the mulberries in her basket. Yao She smiled. However, Gu Jiao had indeed asked Yao She for some extra money for her treatment, but it was not money. Instead, it was pastries that she had personally made. Yao She was very happy. She had not been this happy in a long time. Every time she saw her, she was always lucky. If she was not being saved, she was being cured. This girl, was she her lucky star? Perhaps it was because they were the same age, but Yao She quickly thought of Gu Jinyu. Although they were mother and daughter, her relationship with Jinyu was not as close as her relationship with Gu Yan. Even if Gu Yan had a sour face all day, she could still feel Gu Yan's need for her. She stayed in the villa and let Gu Yan go to the capital. Gu Yan would not do that, but Jin Yu could easily leave. She seemed to yearn for the prosperity of the capital and the liveliness of the Marquis manor. This did not mean that Jin Yu did not love her as a mother, but she was not the only mother in Jin Yu's world. Without her, Jin Yu could still live well. She thought that this might be a good thing. After all, if one day Gu Yen was no longer around, she did not want to live. At least she did not have to worry about Jin Yu. On the way back, Gu Jiao asked the second master about the Marquis manor. "What are you referring to?" the second master asked. "The Marquis's wife," Gu Jiao said. Asking about the Marquis's wife was not strange. After all, they had already met 3 of the masters of the hot spring villa. There was only the Marquis that they had never met before. The second master did not feel that Gu Jiao had any motives. He thought for a bit, then said, "That Marquis's surname seems to be Yao. Speaking of which, there is a story. She is Marquis Ding An's second wife. Her family declined and her father had an idle position in the Ministry of Revenue. It is said that he offended someone and in the end, he could not even keep his idle position. She and the previous Marquis's wife were close friends. Before the previous Marquis's wife passed away, she went to visit her a few times. There were rumors in the capital that she took advantage of the previous Marquis's illness to hook up with Marquis Ding An." Gu Jiao frowned slightly. She did not seem like this kind of person. The second master continued, "The truth is that she never even met Marquis Ding An in the Marquis manor." "How do you know?" Gu Jiao asked. The second master faintly smiled. "Our Hui Chun Hall has some reputation in the capital. The imperial physician that treated the previous Marquis's wife had some dealings with my family. However, the previous Marquis's wife had indeed asked Yao Shi to take care of her children." Gu Jiao asked, "The previous Marquis's wife had children?" The second master said, "That's right. She had 3 sons. The last 2 were twins. The previous Marquis's wife had the idea of letting Yao Shi be Marquis Ding An's second wife. Unfortunately, Yao Shi did not agree. Yao Shi personally refused. The imperial physician was brewing medicine in the back and heard everything. But after going around in circles, Marquis Ding An finally met Yao Shi and took a liking to her. Marquis Ding An directly proposed marriage to the Yao family and the Yao family agreed without another word. You should be able to guess what happened after that. All sorts of rumors began to slander Yao Shi in the capital. The Marquis's wife has been staying at the hot spring villa for the past few years. First, it was to accompany Gu Yen in his recovery. Second, it was because she was not at ease in the capital. Marquis Ding An did not have much affection for his first wife. On the contrary, he doted on Yao Shi. With Yao Shi's background, she was not qualified to be his second wife. It was he who insisted on marrying Yao Shi. But the more he doted on Yao Shi, the more people felt that Yao Shi was a fox. In reality, the second master had seen Yao Shi once. She was a woman without any schemes. Her eyes were as clean as the bottom of a lake. If she was a fox, then there was no one else in the world who was not. 10 days after the end of the capital examination, the government released the results. The examinees all headed to the government office early in the morning to see if they had passed the examination. The number of people admitted to the capital examination was very limited. Out of the hundreds of examinees, only 50 were admitted. They were divided into 2 grades, A and B. There were 10 people in a grade and the rest were in B grade. Feng Lin was woken up by Du Ruohan. Du Ruohan had slipped out of the governor's manor before the sun rose. Feng Lin, quickly get up. You lost money." Du Ruohan made a one-sided bet with Feng Lin. He bet that Xiao Lulang would not pass the examination. The bet was 10 taels of silver. Feng Lin yawned as he opened the door. "I haven't eaten breakfast yet." Du Ruohan immediately stuffed a big meat bun into his mouth and pulled him downstairs. Feng Lin took the bun. "Lulang also hasn't eaten yet," Du Ruohan said. All right. He has hands and feet. Don't tell me he will starve to death." Du Ruohan pulled Feng Lin to the entrance of the government office without any explanation. There were already many examinees standing there, surrounding the notice board so tightly that not even a drop of water could trickle through. Du Ruohan used a Herculean effort to pull Feng Lin to the innermost part. In Du Ruohan's view, the chances of a fool like Xiao Lulang passing the examination were really not high. He, wait for the money, Feng Xiao Dun. I'm not Feng Xiao Dun. I also didn't. Halfway through his words, Feng Lin's gaze landed on the eye-catching name that no one could ignore. He suddenly choked and pointed at the list. You look. Du Ruohan looked in the direction of his finger. In a rather eye-catching position, he saw a name, Capital Examination Head, Xiao Lulang. Du Ruohan's jaw almost dropped. It can't be? That fellow actually passed? And he's even the examination head? How is that possible? What happened to the promised little fool? The fellow who couldn't even finish memorizing the 3-character classic actually became the capital examination head? The capital examination head was much more difficult than the county examination head. It wasn't even on the same level. Furthermore, the examination question this time was set by his perverted uncle. That made it even more difficult for others to even begin with. Feng Lin stretched out his hand. Du Ruohan. What? Feng Lin, a bet is a bet. No, didn't you say you didn't want to bet with me? You've been led astray by that fellow. Feng Lin took all of Du Ruohan's belongings and happily returned to the inn. He gave half of the money to Xiao Lulang. There was no need for him to announce the results. The person who came to announce the good news had already gone to the inn to congratulate him. Digression. There's another chapter. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated even faster. Millions of novels can be read for free. Novels that can't be found online can be found here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642-89642-826/115744829. HTML Genius memorized this website's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku Gu mobile reading website, zhbqg.com. Chapter 85. The latest chapter of the book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels are read for free. Novels with a deeper meaning that could not be found online are available here. When the owner of the inn found out that there was a top examinee in the capital examination, he immediately refunded Xiao Lulang and the other two. He even provided them with the most expensive food and wine. If the inn did not have it, he could even order the waiter to buy it. Although Feng Lin had already passed the county-level examination, his results were not considered top-notch. Naturally, he did not receive such treatment. Following Xiao Lulang this time around, he could be considered to be in the limelight. It was worth mentioning that Xiao Lulang did so well that his essay was circulated on the day the results were released. Naturally, many people came to befriend Xiao Lulang, but they were all rejected by Xiao Lulang. The imperial examination system of the current dynasty was greatly adjusted compared to the previous dynasty. After the capital examination in the previous dynasty, there was a 2 to 3 month wait for the college examination. However, the college examination in the current dynasty was closely scheduled on the second day of the release of the results. During these 10 days of waiting for the results, most of the examinees spent their time in fear. After much difficulty, they were certain that they had passed the examination, but they did not even have a chance to breathe before they had to enter the next round of examination. This undoubtedly increased the pressure on the examinees. There were 2 rounds in the college examination, the 8-part essay and the essay. The essay was as difficult as the capital examination. The 8-part essay was still set by Provincial Governor Zhuang. Xiao Lulang had already obtained 2 top examinees. If he obtained the top examinee for the lower house examination, he would be a junior 3 examinee. There had not been a Junior 3 examinee in Ping-Cheng for almost 10 years. All the officials in the magistrate court had high hopes for Xiao Lulang. However, to everyone's surprise, Xiao Lulang actually handed in a blank paper. The college examination and the capital examination were not very different in scope. They still required the examinee to pass the 3 examinees. However, there were more questions and the types of questions were more tricky. However, it was not to the extent of handing in a blank paper. Of course, in every round of examination, the examinees could not be excluded from various unexpected situations. There was once when a student smeared something dirty on the paper, causing the entire paper to be invalid. That was the triennial provincial examination. 3 years of hard work by the examinee had gone down the drain. However, handing in a blank script was still too rare. Especially when this blank paper was given to Xiao Lulang, who had left a deep impression on Governor Zhuang during the county examination. If Governor Zhuang remembered correctly, there were a total of 12 examiners marking the papers. 11 of them gave Xiao Liulong's 8-part essay an A grade. The only one who wasn't given an A grade was Provincial Governor Zhuang. He gave Xiao Lulang B. But if one knew that Provincial Governor Zhuang only gave ding grades to others, one would be able to see how rare and valuable Xiao Liulong's results were. There were 11 A's. Even if he had written something randomly, he could still be ranked in the top 10. However, Xiao Lulang was ranked 3rd from the bottom. This surprised Governor Zhuang. He pulled out the test paper and found that it was a blank test paper. Governor Zhuang also asked someone to take out Xiao Liulong's test paper for the prefectural examination. If 6th young Master Zhao's script for the prefectural examination had been terrible, this matter might have passed. However, 6th young Master Zhao's script for the prefectural examination had been a complete set. In other words, he didn't answer a single question correctly. And he only used an hour, said the invigilator who came to deliver the test paper. This invigilator was the one who sat across from Xiao Lulang during the county examination. The test paper was masked. After it was handed in, no one knew who the test paper belonged to. However, after Xiao Lulang took the prefectural examination, his 8-legged essay had spread. The invigilator had secretly gone to the inn to see what this prefectural examination head looked like and how he was able to write such a wondrous essay. In the end, he discovered that the other party was the examinee who had only taken an hour to write the essay and essay. Provincial Governor Zhuang's standards were too high. To be able to answer all the questions correctly was not enough to reach the apex. However, if it was only an hour, then it was very amazing. Out of all the people he knew, the only one who could do better than this examinee was the late young Marquis of Zhao Du. Provincial Governor Zhuang immediately sent someone to the inn to find Xiao Lulang and ask him about the situation. I didn't hand in a blank test paper, Xiao Lulang said. If what Xiao Lulang said was true, then someone must have touched his test paper. This was a big matter. The management of the test papers in the imperial examination was very strict. When every examinee handed in their test paper, there would be 2 invigilators who would collect the test paper together. They would also put down their fingerprints when they masked the test paper, proving that they were the ones who took the test paper. If there was a problem with the test paper, only the 2 of them would be responsible. It was worth mentioning that all the invigilators were matched by drawing lots after they entered. They were the same as the examinees and could not contact the outside world until the end of the examination. It was easy to bribe one of the invigilators, but to bribe 2 at the same time was too difficult. This was because no one could guarantee that the 2 invigilators would coincidentally be assigned to the same test paper, much less guarantee that they would coincidentally be assigned to the same test paper as Xiao Lulang. Even so, Governor Luo still called the invigilators over for questioning. The 2 of them both said that they did not violate any rules. Is it a blank test paper? I'm not sure. Before handing in the test paper, the examinees would stamp a blank paper on it. This is to prevent us from prying into their handwriting. Provincial Governor Zhuang nodded and turned to Governor Luo. After passing through the hands of the 2 of them, the test paper would be masked, right? Only after all the invigilators have finished marking will they open the name. Then I'm very curious. How did that person recognize Xiao Liulong's test paper and successfully switch it to a blank test paper? Governor Luo thought for a moment and said, "There are two ways. One is to hand out the test paper and the other is to mark the test paper. Xiao Lulang is the head of the prefectural examination. During the academy examination, he sits first. This is the rule. The first test paper to be handed out is his test paper. Then, they can tamper with the test paper beforehand. Even if the test paper is masked, they can still recognize his test paper. Or perhaps, an invigilator obtained Xiao Liulong's test paper from the prefectural examination and took down Xiao Liulong's notes. When they were marking the test paper, they could recognize Xiao Liulong's test paper based on the notes. No matter which one it is, there must be someone among the examiners marking the test paper who is not clean. The examiners for the prefectural examination and the academy examination were not from the same batch. This was to prevent someone from remembering the examinee's handwriting and thus affecting their judgment of the examinees. However, this did not rule out the possibility that someone had secretly obtained the prefectural examination's test paper. After all, after marking the test paper, the secrecy of the test paper would be greatly reduced. Other than Provincial Governor Zhuang, the other 11 examiners were all escorted into a secret room to be interrogated by Governor Luo. Under the heavy punishment, Governor Luo was able to find the real culprit. The culprit was an examiner with the surname of Wu. He had worked in the examination hall for 20 years and was usually as honest as an antique. Governor Luo originally thought that he was the least likely culprit. It seemed that not betraying wasn't because one's morals were high, but because one's bargaining chip wasn't high enough. That person gave me 1,000 taels of silver to destroy Xiao Liulong's test paper. I originally prepared ink and planned to disguise the situation as if Xiao Lulang had accidentally dirted the test paper. I have seen many situations like this and they all treated the test paper as trash. No one would go and verify it. However, before I could make a move, Lord Wang, who I had sent away, returned. My hand trembled and I spilled the ink on myself. It was too late to find another ink. Coincidentally, I had a few blank test papers with me, so I took one and replaced it. What did that person look like? He was masked so I didn't see clearly. Voice. How tall? I don't remember. I really don't remember. Governor Luo reported the results of the interrogation to Provincial Governor Zhuang. Generally speaking, if there was cheating in the imperial examinations, everyone's test paper would be invalidated and they would have to take the test again. Not only would this hurt the government, it would also cause many examinees to break down. Examinations had always been a combination of ability and luck. No one could guarantee that they would perform better in the next round, and there was no guarantee that other examinees wouldn't take advantage of the situation to surpass them. Of course, to the examinees who failed the role, this was undoubtedly a free opportunity. However, the problem was that even if Xiao Liulong's test paper was replaced with a blank one, he still passed with 11 A's and 1 B's. In other words, those who should have been accepted were all accepted. Those who failed were supposed to fail. The only difference was that their rankings might have advanced by 1 place, while Xiao Lulang had lost his position as the head of the table. Governor Luo sighed. That person probably didn't expect that Xiao Lulang would still be able to pass the examination. It's a pity. Xiao Lulang should have had the chance to become the head of the table. Provincial Governor Zhuang said seriously, this matter can be big or small. If you look at it from a long-term perspective, it is a small matter. If you stop here in your life, then it will be a big matter. Minor 3 yuan was enough for an elementary scholar to be in the limelight for a while, but only for a while. If he really wanted to make a name for himself, he had to continue taking the provincial examination. After becoming a high scholar in the provincial examination, he would then enter the capital for the imperial examinations. The college examination wasn't the end of everything. On the contrary, it was the starting point of the imperial examinations. Provincial Governor Zhuang said, this matter is up to him to decide. Go and ask him if he wants to take the exam again. If he wanted to take the exam again, he wouldn't be the only one taking the exam. Instead, all the examinees would have to go through both the 8-legged essay and sutra examination again. Governor Luo went to the inn. When he saw Xiao Lulang, he tactfully explained his purpose for coming and asked Xiao Lulang if he wanted to take the exam again. Xiao Lulang didn't directly answer his question. Instead, he opened the window and let him see the students on the first floor who were exchanging their results with each other. The rankings had already been released. Those who didn't pass were covered in dirt, while those who passed were glowing. At this moment, no one knew what he was experiencing in his heart. "These examinees who passed are all innocent, right?" he suddenly said. Governor Luo was stunned when he heard this. After a while, he said hoarsely, "Yes, you didn't fail the examination. Therefore, it doesn't matter if any of them took up an extra spot in the provincial examination." Xiao Lulang looked at the examinees and said, "If they take the exam again, there will be some of them who won't pass, right?" Governor Luo sighed and nodded. This was inevitable. After taking the exam again, one's mentality would collapse and it would be difficult to perform normally. "Then what about you, Governor Luo?" Xiao Lulang asked. What?" Governor Luo was stunned. Xiao Lulang said, "I heard that Governor Luo's term of office is coming to an end. The re-examination is a big matter and needs to be reported to the court. Will it affect Governor Luo's re-election?" Governor Luo helplessly nodded. The court's control over the imperial examination was extremely strict. If he were to take the exam again because of fraud, his official position would be over. Xiao Lulang calmly asked, "How much does Governor Luo think your future is worth?" Governor Luo was stunned. Was this brat openly extorting him? Xiao Lulang calmly said, "Governor Luo is an honest official and can't take out too much money. However, that person should have spent a lot of money to bribe the examiner, right? The victim is me. Shouldn't Governor Luo compensate me with this money? He could buy back his own future without spending a single copper coin. He could also gain a good reputation as an honest official. This transaction was worth it." Governor Luo fell head first into the pit that Xiao Lulang had dug. Of course. I will definitely send 1,000 taels to candidate Xiao." Xiao Lulang continued, "Also, if no one tampered with the exam papers, I would be a grade 3 examiner." Governor Luo, you don't deny this, right? Governor Luo nodded vigorously. Of course. Both the provincial governor and I have witnessed examinee Zhao's strength." Xiao Lulang sighed faintly. "But there's a reward for grade 3 examiners. I won't be able to get this reward now." Governor Luo was speechless. Why did it feel like this pit was a little big? The reward for grade 3 examiners was allocated by the court and distributed by the yamen. The yamen, the tribute court, and the county yamen would give a total of 100 taels. As Peace City Prefecture had not given out grade 3 examiners for the past 10 years, the reward had been doubled. In other words, Xiao Lulang should have received 200 taels. However, with the current situation, he could not use the public account. In other words, Governor Luo had to fork out the money himself. Governor Luo thought, "I actually naively thought that I wouldn't have to spend a single coin. I'm so stupid, really." The cheating incident ended with Governor Luo coughing up blood and forking out from his own pocket. Provincial Governor Zhuang was a distant relative of Governor Luo. Since the person involved did not pursue the matter, he did not report it to the court. Governor Luo's official position was saved, and the examinees did not have to break down anymore. Everyone was happy. As for the person who cheated, it should be an examinee who was jealous of Xiao Liulong's results and wanted to pull him down. Governor Luo said that he would continue to investigate in secret. When Xiao Lulang returned to the village, it was already the beginning of April. The village was filled with the warmth of late spring. The willow branches by the pond had sprouted, and strands of them drooped down on the surface of the water like a floating jade curtain. The crops in the fields had also grown, and they were green as far as the eye could see. He had come to the village around this time last year. Who would have thought that a year had passed in the blink of an eye? Uncle Zhang, who had just returned from the fields, turned his head and said to Auntie Zhang behind him, "Wife, look, isn't that Lulang?" Auntie Zhang's eyesight was better than her husband's. She looked over and nodded her head vigorously. "Isn't that Lulang?" "Hey." The scholar is back. She also turned her head and shouted at the villagers who were working in the fields. Xiao Liulong's results had already spread to the village. Even though he had failed in the college examination, he had obtained first place in the county and prefectural examinations. He was also evaluated as a scholar. He was the second scholar in the village after Gu Das-hun. Early in the morning, the people from the county yamen had sent over a few dozen catties of grain. The white rice looked even better than Gu Dashuan's. The villagers acted as if it was the first time they had met Xiao Lulang. They wanted to talk to him but did not dare to. After all, things were different now. He was a scholar. Uncle Zhang, Auntie Zhang. Xiao Lulang greeted the two of them. This family was warm-hearted. When Gu Jiao had menstrual cramps, it was Auntie Zhang who lent Xiao Lulang brown sugar. The two of them were so flattered that they could not continue the conversation. After that, Xiao Lulang met a few more villagers one after another. He greeted them, neither too warm nor too cold. It was no different from his usual cold appearance. Finally, he arrived at the door of his house. Because he did not inform his family in advance, his family did not know that he was coming back today. The sound of little Jing Kong's babbling could be heard from the backyard. Xiao Lulang stepped into the house. In the backyard that was filled with sunlight, Gu Jiao was washing little Jing Kong's hair. Little Jing Kong's round bald head had green hair stubs. He proudly asked Gu Jiao how long his hair was and whether it was longer than a few days ago. The old lady was sitting on a rattan chair, watching the little handsome monk come out of the bath while eating melon seeds. Xuening Xiang's 1-year-old son, Go Dan, was sitting on a small stool beside her. Go Dan was slowly eating corn on the cob. Little Jing Kong was the first to notice Xiao Lulang. Little Jing Kong lowered his head and looked behind his crotch. He saw Xiao Lulang lying on the floor. He recognized him for a long time. Bad brother-in-law? Gu Jiao stopped scooping water and turned her head quietly. She looked at him and he looked at her in the same way. They hadn't seen each other for more than a month. Everyone in the family had changed. Little Jing Kong's hair stubs had grown, and the old lady was getting younger. She seemed to have grown taller and looked more like a young girl. Her birthmark was still on her face, but it didn't look like an ugly red spot. Instead, it looked like an enchanting flower. It bloomed with a bright and moving color in her cold and lonely temperament. She was as beautiful as a peach. He had also grown taller, and the youthful air between his brows had faded a little, and there was a hint of nobility and elegance of a scholar. The two of them looked at each other in a daze. Neither of them spoke. Lulang, you're back? The old lady turned around and said in a light tone, Did you bring any delicious food? Xiao Lulang came back to his senses. Yes. He walked forward, but he didn't look at the door sill. He staggered and almost fell. Gu Jiao calmly turned around and continued to bathe little Jing Kong. However, as soon as she dipped the ladle into the water, she heard little Jing Kong cry out, Aya, it's so cold. Gu Jiao was embarrassed. She scooped the wrong water. Digression. Today's total is 12,000 words. It's the usual 6 chapters, so it's considered a small explosion. I wish everyone a happy meal. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. Novels are updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. Novels with content that can't be found on the internet can be found here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642_8964282/115743352. HTML Genius memorized the website's address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Biku mobile reading website, zhbqg.com. Chapter 86. Please scan the QR code below to download the app for more exciting content. The novel will be updated at a faster rate. Millions of novels will be read for free. There are all kinds of novels that can't be found online. The old lady looked at Gu Jiao and then at Xiao Lulang. Her eyes were full of mystery. She felt that she was going to have a great-grandchild soon. Gu Jiao changed the topic seamlessly and asked Feng Lin. Xiao Lulang answered seriously. He went back to the academy. He went to the prefectural city for a month and missed a lot of classes. It was all thanks to Feng Lin this time. Gu Jiao would remember his kindness. While the two of them were talking, a few yellow chicks swaggered out. Xiao Lulang realized that he had started to raise chickens after leaving home for a month. Gu Jiao was not interested in raising chickens. Little Jing Kong liked the chicks from next door when he saw them. He asked Gu Jiao if he could raise a few. Gu Jiao said that he could raise them, but there was a condition. He had to take care of the chicks himself. He could not ask others to do the feeding and cleaning of the chicken feces. In order to let little Jing Kong understand the difficulty of raising chickens, Gu Jiao asked him to go to Xuanningshiang's house to feed the chickens for 2 days. Not only were there cute chicks, but there were also mature hens and roosters. Gu Jiao also told him that all the chicks that looked cute now would grow into hens and roosters one day. In the end, even this could not dissuade him. Gu Jiao could only let him raise her. He raised 7 of them, and all of them were chubby. He even gave them names, from 1 to 7. She did not know how he could identify them. Xiao Lulang brought the old lady a specialty of Ping Cheng, candied red bayberries. At this time, the red bayberries had just borne fruit. The fruit was not big and had a strong sour taste. However, this type of bayberries was best preserved with sugar. The sweet and sour taste was not greasy. Xiao Lulang brought 2 jars. One jar had its core removed, and the other jar had its core. Although it was just 2 cans of food, this was the most famous candied red bayberry in Pingcheng. Since there were many students taking the exam, it was sold out almost every day as soon as it came out. Xiao Lulang went to line up in the middle of the night and shivered in the cold wind for a long time. The old madam took out a seedless dried bayberry and gave it to Gooden. Gooden was drooling. Gu Shaoshun hadn't finished school yet. Xiao Lulang had also brought something for him. It was a complete set of wood-carving tools. The Zhao country had very strict control over iron. It was very difficult for ordinary people to buy such fine and complete ironware. Xiao Lulang had extorted money from Governor Luo to buy it. He watched as Xiao Liulong's bag deflated. Little Jing Kong walked his little chick. He didn't seem to care, but he glanced at Xiao Liulong's bag from time to time. Gu Jiao noticed his strange behavior and asked, Jing Kong, are you also looking forward to your gift? I'm not. Little Jing Kong turned his head away proudly. Bad brother-in-law would not buy him a gift. Xiao Lulang saw the little guy's awkwardness. They were already on bad terms. After being separated for more than a month, they could not even be considered distant. Xiao Lulang took out a burr puzzle from the bag. It's okay if you don't want it. I'll give it to Gooden. No. Little Jing Kong jumped down from the chair and snatched the burr puzzle. He's small. He can't play with it. Gooden looked at his little brother blankly. He didn't understand what had happened. Finally, it was Gu Jiao's. It was a very exquisite brocade box. Just by looking at the box, one could tell that it was expensive. Gu Jiao thought to herself and measured the length of the brocade box. Was it a hairpin? It was such an expensive box. It should be a silver hairpin at least. Silver hairpins were rare in the countryside. Most of them were wooden hairpins. The more extravagant ones were copper hairpins. Silver hairpins could only be bought by wealthy families. They would only be willing to wear them on very important days. Of course, the most important thing was that if a man gave a woman a hairpin, it would mean something unspeakable. Gu Jiao's face was full of, I love it, I love it, I love it. Click. Xiao Lulang opened the brocade box. It was not a hairpin, but a writing brush. Gu Jiao was dumbfounded. Xiao Lulang said, your handwriting is not good. Other than the way you hold the brush, it has something to do with the writing brush. This is a weasel hairbrush made by a famous craftsman in Ping City. It's very suitable for your strength." He introduced her in a serious manner, but Gu Jiao was not in a good mood. Was the hairpin a hot potato? Why did he give her a writing brush? This was like giving a student who only wanted to spend money to play games a set of exam questions. How could she refuse? Seeing Gu Jiao trying to hold back her anger, old Madame Fu laughed so hard that her stomach hurt. There was a need that Lu Lang thought you needed. Gu Jiao hugged the weasel hairbrush, her face as black as charcoal. Then Xiao Lu Lang handed her a copper token with the words, Zhou Ji Bank, engraved on it. "I've saved your household expenses in the bank. You can get it yourself if you need it." Xiao Lu Lang did not mention the exact amount, and Gu Jiao did not ask. She was still immersed in her emotions of being given a writing brush. What Gu Jiao did not know was that this weasel hairbrush was more expensive than all the other gifts put together. It was not something that could be bought with money. Gu Jiao did not lose her temper for too long. She still remembered the important matter. Before leaving, Gu Jiao had told Feng Lin to keep an eye on Xiao Liulong's walking practice every day. Now she wanted to see the results. Gu Jiao and Xiao Lulang went to the West Room to check on his ankle. The wound from the surgery was almost invisible. Gu Jiao reached out and pinched it. "Does it still hurt?" Xiao Lulang shook his head. "It doesn't hurt anymore." "It doesn't hurt at all?" Gu Jiao raised her head and looked at him. He nodded. "Yes." Gu Jiao pinched his calf again. It felt good. It seemed that Feng Lin did not slack off. The weakened muscles had basically recovered after 4 months of rehabilitation. In other words, Xiao Lulang did not have any weakness in his legs anymore. He still did not throw away his crutches. The biggest problem might be his psychological state. Gu Jiao had seen many similar cases in her previous life. Some people were afraid of getting injured again and overprotected themselves. However, most of these cases would gradually fade with the passage of time and get better. The other case was more complicated. The patient had a knot in his heart. If he could not untie it, he would continue to live in a state of injury to punish himself or to avoid something. While Gu Jiao was thinking, Xiao Lulang had already pulled down his trousers and walked out with his crutches. Gu Jiao looked at his cold and lonely back and couldn't help but be puzzled. What exactly had he experienced? The news that Xiao Lulang had passed the county-level exam quickly spread throughout the surrounding villages. As a big family in the village, the Gu family had also heard the news. They really did not expect that Xiao Lulang would be able to pass 2 exams in a row and even pass the exam. He was clearly a bad student who almost failed to get into Qianxiang Academy. How did he pass the exam like Deshun? Also, Xiao Lulang was clearly more valuable than Gu Dashuan's rice. Otherwise, the rice given to Xiao Lulang would not be so much better than the rice given to Gu Dashun. 2 exams, just one more to become a junior 3rd scholar. At the dinner table, Gu Chonglu said enviously. Was he born unwilling to study? No. It was just that he could not study. Later on, he had 2 sons and hoped that they could study. However, the family could not afford to support those who were willing to study. The one who entered for free was Gu Xiaoshun, that disappointment. The Gu family did not know that it was not that Xiao Lulang could not pass the exam, but that he had given up on it. Everyone at the table had ugly expressions. The ugliest was Gu Dashun. The Xiao Lulang that he had always looked down on had suddenly overtaken him. Gu Dashun was unhappy. With Headmaster Li personally tutoring him, of course he improved a lot. In the month before the district exam, I saw Headmaster Li call him to Zhongzheng every day. He did not believe that Xiao Lulang had relied on his own abilities to soar. In terms of talent, Xiao Lulang was not as good as him. If he was the one being personally tutored by Headmaster Li, then he would definitely be able to achieve better results than Xiao Lulang. To put it bluntly, he lost in terms of resources. If it was in the past, the Gu family would definitely say a few words of jealousy towards Xiao Lulang. But tonight, No one said a word. This caused Gu Doshun to frown slightly. He felt that the atmosphere in the family was different from before. Everyone looked like they had a lot on their minds, except for Gu Xiaoshun. It was not strange that he would think this way. After the Gu family failed in their attempt to woo the Marquis's daughter, Gu Zhao's matter was completely exposed. Marquis Gu did not even need to use any interrogation methods. He only needed to let Huang Zhong walk around the village, and he was able to get a clear picture of Gu Zhao's life since she was young. This was the legitimate bloodline of the Marquis's household. How could she be bullied like this? Wasn't this rubbing Marquis Gu's face on the ground? Marquis Gu's anger could be imagined. If not for Gu Jinyu and the third branch of the Gu family, Marquis Gu would have long captured this family and beaten them to death. But they could avoid the death penalty, but they could not escape punishment. Old Master Gu had reached the end of his career. This was the most wronged Old Master Gu had ever been. He had gone to the clan for a drink, and when he came back, his custody was gone. And it was his own wife, son, and daughter-in-law who had caused it to be gone. As for Gu Jinyu, Marquis Gu made the Gu family give up Gu Jinyu's custody and vowed not to appear in front of Gu Jinyu for the rest of his life. In addition, Marquis Gu's lips were sealed. Not a single word was to be leaked. So the Gu family kept it a secret even from Gu Doshun and Gu Xiaoshun. Gu Ershun had unintentionally eavesdropped and knew that Gu Zhao might have been the wrong child. But he did not know anything else. This was one of the reasons for the strange atmosphere. The second reason was that the womenfolk in the family had actually come to the table to eat. Gu Doshun was not used to this. Gu Doshun glanced at his sister, Gu Yue. He thought of something and said, "Jiaonyong is so lucky to have married a scholar husband." His sister was not young anymore. Logically speaking, it was time to talk about marriage. If she married into a good family, it would be of help to him. Gu Yue lowered her head and ate without a word. Everyone thought, was Jiaonyong the lucky one? It was clearly that brat Xiao Lulang. Did he know who he was marrying? The Marquis's family's daughter. This was really a good thing that fell from the sky. Speaking of this marriage, they had been careless. If they had known that the girl had such a background, they would not have married her off. If they kept her at home as a money tree, who knew how much benefits they could get from the Marquis's family? The Gu family's intestines turned green. But what could they do? That girl was no longer stupid and easy to fool. Even if they wanted to mend their relationship, it would not be so easy. Madame Wu gave Madame Lu a look, indicating for her to pick up the meat in her bowl. This was real meat. Every slice was especially thick and fat. In the future, only Gu Doshun would be able to eat it. Madame Lu swallowed and picked up the thickest slice. She originally wanted to put it in Urshuan's bowl, but Madame Wu glared daggers at her. She quickly put it in Gu Xiaoshuan's bowl. Gu Xiaoshun looked at his mother with a strange expression. "What?" Madame Lu said embarrassedly, "It's not easy for you to come back. Eat some meat." During this period of time, Gu Xiaoshun had been living in the academy. Today, he was invited back by Gu Doshun. Gu Doshun did not want to invite him politely, but his father had spoken. Gu Doshun had no other choice. Gu Xiaoshun looked at the meat in his bowl and ate it indifferently. Gu Ershun was so hungry that he drooled. Gu Doshun frowned. Everyone else pretended not to see anything. Madame Lu smiled and said, "Xiaoshun, you haven't gone to see your sister yet, right?" Gu Xiaoshun asked, "Why?" Madame Lu smiled and said, "Your sister is so good to you. Why don't you go see her now that you're back?" Gu Xiaoshun ate a mouthful of rice and said, "I'll go in a while." Madame Lu continued to smile and said, "Your brother-in-law has become a scholar. Remember to say a few words of congratulations." Gu Xiaoshun said, "Okay." After a long time, Madame Wu and the first branch did not get to the point. Gu Chonghai said, "Xiaoshun, I've prepared a jar of good tea leaves and 2 old hens. I'll send them to your sister with you later." Gu Xiaoshun said, "I'll go." "Why are you going?" "I'm afraid you can't carry them." Gu Xiaoshun was so angry that he almost went crazy. Gu Shaoshan was a straightforward person. He did not understand the meaning behind his words. Gu Chonghai decided to be frank and said, "There's no overnight hatred in a family. We were wrong before. Today, we apologize to your sister. From today onwards, we'll live a good life as a family." Marquis Gu only said that they were not allowed to get close to Gu Jinyu. He did not say that they were not allowed to get close to Gu Jiao as long as they did not reveal the truth to Gu Jiao. They could roughly guess Marquis Gu's intentions. He was afraid that Gu Jiao wouldn't be able to accept it in a short period of time, so he planned to take things slowly. They only needed to reconcile with Gu Jiao before the father and daughter reunited. "You want to curry favor with my brother-in-law because he has become a scholar, right?" Gu Shaoshan put his chopsticks on the table and asked, "Where are the things?" The first sentence made people frown, but the second sentence made the Gu family feel that there was hope. Gu Zhonghai quickly said to Madame Zhou, "Go and get them." Madame Zhou did not dare to delay. She went into the house and caught the expensive tea leaves and the 2 fattest hens in the house. Gu Shaoshan put down his chopsticks, took the things and walked out. Gu Zhonghai stretched out his hand and said, "Hey! Wait for me. Wait for you. You are the ones who owe my sister." Gu Shaoshan sprinted out and slipped into his sister's house, slamming the door shut with a loud bang. Gu Zhonghai, who had a nosebleed from the slamming of the door. The tea leaves and hens that Gu Zhonghai had spent a lot of money on were gone just like that. He did not dare to make a fuss. How could he reason with them? Gu Zhonghai wanted to knock on the door, but no one answered. He could only grit his teeth and go back. Gu Jiao did not care about the Gu family. The old madam and Xiao Lulang did not care either. If Gu Shaoshan had not held the door shut, the old madam would have pinned a basin of feces and urine on the Gu family. Gu Jiao was cooking in the kitchen. "Sister. Sister." Gu Shaoshan had not returned to the village for a long time and missed his sister. He rushed to the kitchen to greet Gu Jiao, then went to look for Xiao Lulang and the old madam. Xiao Lulang gave him the carving knives that he had brought from Ping Cheng. Gu Shaoshan liked them very much. He looked at each knife again and could not bear to part with them. A good knife was to a craftsman, and a good sword was to a swordsman. That kind of joy could not be replaced by ordinary gifts. Gu Shaoshan felt that his brother-in-law was a good man. Gu Shaoshan was playing with the knives when the old madam suddenly called him into the house. The old madam waved at him enthusiastically. "Shaoshan, come and try the candied dried red bayberries that Lulang bought for me." Gu Shaoshan blinked. "Great aunt, why are you so generous today?" It was usually harder to eat one of her candied fruits than to reach the sky. "Here." The old madam searched for a long time and gave him the smallest one. Gu Shaoshan did not pick it and stuffed it into his mouth. The next second, he saw the old madam count 7 big candied red bayberries and put them into her small honey pot. She shouted loudly, "Jiao Jiao! Shaoshan ate 8 of my dried red bayberries." Gu Shaoshan almost choked to death. Did she have to do this for a few dried red bayberries? Gu Jiao controlled the old madam and allowed her to eat 3 bayberries a day at most. She could only eat 5 bayberries during the new year. She saved 7 in one go. It could be said that she had made a fortune. The old madam was very satisfied. She waved her hand and asked Gu Shaoshan to do what he should do. Gu Shaoshan was dumbfounded. Did she make use of him just like that? Gu Shaoshan planned to look for little Jing Kong, but he found that the little guy had gone out. Little Jing Kong went out to walk the chicks. At first, he only walked in the backyard of his house. Gradually, he felt that the backyard was not safe enough, so he took the chicks out. Little Jing Kong's route was from his house to the entrance of the village and back. If he met the villagers, he would politely greet them. The villagers were surprised at the beginning, but now they were used to it. They even started to like the little monk. Other people's chicks ran all over the place when they went out, but his chicks could still form a formation. "Little Chi, don't cut the line." Little Jing Kong caught a chick that had sneaked to the 5th line. Little Jing Kong walked to the Gu family's old house. This was the only way to the entrance of the village. He knew the relationship between the two families. He would not go to the Gu family's house, nor would he greet the Gu family. However, today, he was attracted by a strange sound. The latest chapter of this book is not finished yet. For more exciting content, please scan the QR code below to download the app. The novel is more complete and updated faster. Millions of novels are free to read. All the novels that can't be found online are available here. https://www.zhbqg.com/89642/8264286/115719606. HTML Genius memorized the website address in 1 second. www.zhbqg.com Bikuj mobile reading website. zhbqg.com. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.